talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines, just coming up to 1 minute past 10, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Thomas Frank's convinced he'll still be at Spurs when Arsenal go there in 11 days' time. We're told the board are split, with the director and chief exec determined to give Frank time.
That's why I think he was so bullish when he was asked several times last night if he believed he would still be in charge for the North London derby. But ultimately, it will come down to the Lewis family and how they see the direction of travel, because make no bones about it, Tottenham are in a huge relegation battle.
Well, forget that. Breaking news we've just heard here on talkSPORT. Thomas Frank has been sacked. Our chief football correspondent Alex Crook there with the update. Meanwhile, more bad news for Spurs. West Ham are edging closer to safety. Here's Harry Redknapp.
I thought last night it'd be a difficult game for Man United, and it certainly was. I mean, they should have won it in the end, West Ham, shouldn't they? So I think they'll be fine. I mean, they're just coming at the right time. Their form's good, their momentum, crowd are with them.
Meanwhile, Ali McCoy schools Benjamin Šeško's finish to equalise in the last minute. A different class as a finish. Šeško's got 5 in 5 now for Man United in the league. EFL clubs are expected to vote in favour of expanding the Championship playoffs to 6 places at a meeting next month. There's more at talksport.com. Rory McIlroy says the Players' Championship is an amazing tournament in its own right. It doesn't need to be turned into golf's 5th major. There has been talk about that recently. McIlroy is defending his Pebble Beach Pro-Am title live on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow night. In the racing, Weatherby's jumps card today has been abandoned. That's due to a waterlogged track. And at the T20 World Cup, South Africa needed a second super over to beat Afghanistan in a thriller. England play the West Indies in Mumbai later. And that breaking news again, Thomas Frank has been sacked by Tottenham Hotspur. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Counter-terror police are still questioning a 13-year-old over a double stabbing at a school in London, and Robbie Williams has announced an intimate gig later this month as part of Brits Week. Sangeeta has more at 10:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Staying largely cloudy with outbreaks of rain for most of us. In the north, fairly windy and cold, feeling mild in the south.
Good morning, everybody. 10 o'clock. It is Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. Wednesday morning, Wednesday, February the 11th, and in the last few moments, it was announced that Thomas Frank has been sacked by Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur, who, of course, only last night lost by 2-1 at home to Newcastle United. Tottenham have won just 2 of their 13 home games this season. No league wins in 2026. It was a run of 2 wins in 17 in the league. Spurs sit 16th, 5 points clear of the relegation zone. And in the last few moments, Tottenham Hotspur, the hierarchy, pulled the trigger. Thomas Frank, once of Brentford, more recently of Tottenham Hotspur, has been sacked by the Spurs hierarchy. Simon, sitting to my left, good morning to you.
Morning.
Thomas Frank gone, is this much of a shock?
Not really. I mean, I said 2-3 months ago, I felt that, or certainly 2 months ago, that he was in a situation where he didn't have many allies, and unless he really changed the direction of travel, he wasn't going to be given much support, because the people that are now in situ at Spurs weren't the people that employed him. I watched the game last night. I looked at Spurs in the first half and I thought they seemed to be devoid of any identity. And it began to look to me, even more so than people that Tottenham fans may have already concluded themselves, and they probably have, this job seems to be bigger than Thomas. And the question is why? The question is what has manifested itself that a manager that's clearly capable of managing players and producing a side is not capable of getting an outcome in the English Premier League. with a side like Tottenham Hotspur that he's capable of producing in the Champions League? There's a whole raft of questions that Tottenham internally have got to ask themselves. But those that wanted Thomas Frank out will be pleased, I suspect. And the next solution will be, what do you do with this group of players? What do you do with Romero's of the world that seem to have been given a license to run riot in how they operate, what they say and what they put out on the field? And all of these things are still going to have to be addressed. It'd be fascinating to see where Tottenham turn next.
Yeah, Spurs fans only last night booing Thomas Frank's name before kick-off at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Well, now those Tottenham fans who wanted him out have got their way because Tottenham have sacked Thomas Frank, former Liverpool, former Spurs midfielder Danny Murphy in our midst. Danny, good morning. What's your reaction to this?
Yeah, it became untenable, didn't it? It was inevitable after last night. I think he's done well getting as long as he has, really, because their home form's been disastrous. And the big problem you've got is when a manager's under that much pressure, it translates to the players. And the players haven't been capable of being able to play free, be the odd half here and there, or the odd Champions League game where they've done okay. But the pressure has transferred to the players, and by relieving that pressure, what they'll be hoping is the fans then are back on board with whoever they give the job to, whether it be temporarily, whatever, and then the players can play a bit more free. And I think there's some logic in it. I do feel for him, he's had a hell of a lot of injuries and stuff, but ultimately the performances have not been good enough. System changes, personnel changes. I think Simon's right. It's hard to see a particular identity on what they're trying to do. And ultimately, confidence has gone. The players look bereft of... Is that the word?
Bereft.
Yes, bereft will do, Danny.
Nearly.
Yeah.
Of confidence. So I felt that it was inevitable after last night. It couldn't carry on.
Well, Thomas Frank averaged 1.12 points per game as Tottenham boss in the Premier League, the lowest rate of any Spurs manager. And many people thought that this can't go on, it's unsustainable. Well, now the time has come, and in the last few moments, Thomas Frank has been sacked by Tottenham's Hotspur. Now, speaking to TNT last night, even though they lost another game, this one at home to Newcastle, Thomas Frank was adamant, no, I've still got the full support of the board.
I think I understand the frustration. I also understand it's the easiest thing is to point at me. That's fair. That's part of the job. Unfortunately, I also know one thing: I'll work day and night very hard to do everything I can to turn it around. But also, it's never only one person. I also think it's fair to say that this is a situation we've been in also last year. So there's something we need to get through and improve, and I'm not in doubt that I'm part of that.
Obviously, there's 12 days now until the next game, the North London derby. Have you spoken at all to the hierarchy at the club? Are you confident that you'll be in your position? Have you any worries about your job at Spurs?
No, I spoke to them yesterday, so no.
And results, performances like tonight, the reaction from the supporters, do you think that will have any bearing on them changing their opinion between now and the Arsenal game?
No.
So Thomas Frank last night saying no. Life carries on as usual. But no, it hasn't, because he's been sacked in the last few moments. My colleague here at talkSPORT, Alex Crook, can give us more on this. Alex, good morning. What else do you know?
Good morning. Never a dull moment, is there, when it comes to Tottenham? I don't think this news is a huge surprise. I think I spoke to you guys several weeks ago before Tottenham picked up that win against Dortmund in the Champions League that ultimately earned Thomas Frank a stay of execution, albeit against 10 men. And I said then, it feels to me a question of when and not if Tottenham sacked Thomas Frank. He clearly lost the support of the board, of the fans a long time ago. I think he lost the support from within his own dressing room as well. I'll go back to the end of October, start of November. There was that very uncomfortable scene, wasn't there, between Thomas Frank and two of his senior players, Mickey van der Ven and Jed Spence, basically refusing his handshake at the end of a game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That told me that the players weren't buying into whatever he was trying to do. 7 wins from 26 Premier League games. You're now talking about Tottenham, one of the mainstays of the Premier League era, one of only 6 teams never to have been relegated from the Premier League, looking over their shoulders towards relegation. He couldn't survive. The big question is, what happens next? Will it be an interim manager, a Ryan Mason type, until the end of the season? When, like Manchester United, maybe there'll be a bigger pool for Tottenham to choose from. Maybe Mauricio Pochettino, who the fans were singing for last night, would be open to a return then. Or do they realise they're in a real fight for survival and make a permanent appointment now. I don't think it's necessarily a coincidence that Roberto De Zerbi has left Marseille overnight. He was someone that Spurs were keen to appoint before bringing in even Ange Postecoglou. At the time, I'm told he wasn't necessarily up for working with Daniel Levy and Fabio Paratici, the former sporting director. Both of those are no longer part of the day-to-day running of the football club. And I'm told De Zerbi would potentially be more open to taking the Tottenham job. So certainly that is going to be one to check. I feel for Thomas Frank because I think he's been let down by a group of players who finished 17th last season. I think he's been let down by poor recruitment, both in the summer and in this January transfer window as well, when Tottenham clearly didn't do enough to strengthen the squad. And I feel that he's been given false promises. The reason he was so bullish last night, even in defeat, as I understand it, was that the sporting director, Johan Lange, and the chief executive had assured Thomas Frank he still had their backing. He was safe. Well, clearly he wasn't. And it's the decision that has been made by the owners, by the Lewis family, by ENIC, that ultimately has decided to call an end to what has been a really disappointing tenure for, I think, a good manager and a good guy.
Simon sitting alongside me, Alex. Do you read into that, what Alex is suggesting, maybe a sequence of broken promises, and it's all come down to this, Simon?
Well, I don't know about broken promises. I mean, ultimately, you've got two guys that have inhabited roles that I believe are not number ones in terms of running businesses or running, being directors of football. Paratici was a number one. Daniel Levy was a number one. Whether these guys had the power, you've seen the Lewis family, how they act. They took Daniel Levy out with impunity. They'll take out a manager without a blink. I said to you 2 months ago that he doesn't have any allies or support there, and so I fear that he won't be given the kind of backing and support that he might need. He hasn't done enough himself, so there has to be lots of questions about what Thomas Frank's contribution to the overall equation is. I don't go with the fact that Jed Spence is not a senior player, so his attitude towards Thomas Frank walking off the pitch is not one of a senior player. It's of a little runt that's just established himself in the first team and should have had a bit more respect, quite frankly, towards his manager. But this ridiculous notion of managers going on the field and shaking players' hands after a game is ridiculous anyway. I think there's a variety of things. De Zerbi, well, have some fun with him. The fact that he doesn't want to work for Daniel Levy or doesn't want to work for Paratici, but will work for this group, don't have the qualifications or any of the attributes that I think that will make Tottenham into the thing that they said that they want to make, but have been running it behind the scenes for 25 years. We'll see. Yeah, but De Zerbi is a decent coach.
But maybe De Zerbi is what they need. Somebody that's going to push the ownership as far as he can possibly push them.
There's pushing and there's being destructive. I mean, his attitude towards Brighton at the end of his departure, I thought was appalling. I think there's one person you don't muck about with and question the integrity of is Tony Bloom. And he decided to do that because he had a little tantrum because he didn't get what he wanted.
Yeah, but he did what all managers do when they get some success, is and
that's true too.
They become
not all managers, immature managers.
They start believing their own hype. Yeah. I think De Zerbi might be a problem, right now, they've just got to get someone in who keeps them in the league.
Well, I mean,
don't think long-term.
What we should look at, Dan, is 11 days until the next game. At home, to Arsenal.
We'll write that one off.
Well, they're North London derby, Arsenal, aren't they?
What did they do in that 11 days, Simon? Do they put an interim in, and maybe an interim after the interim, or do they get the man they want and stick him in?
Go get the guy from West Brom that he puts West Brom in a relegation zone. That'll be a good solution. I mean, look, the fact of the matter,
Ryan Mason.
Yeah, come on. I mean, if we really are talking about just spirit, and ultimately it's only spirit that maintains the circumstances inside the dressing room. If the only reason that the Spurs players aren't performing is because they're not very happy right now, then ultimately, yes, go and get a court jester in. Get anybody in that makes them happy.
No, but hang on, Simon, they need to get somebody in to stop them from being relegated.
Yeah, and there's loads of good coaches.
And there's loads of good coaches.
I'd be going experienced personally. Someone senior, someone experienced. There's guys out there who won't.
Like whom?
No, I'd have to think about it. And
loads of good people, Danny. See, when it boils down to it, the responsibility is huge. Stop them from being relegated.
Yeah, that's the job right now. Yeah. Not thinking about the 4-year project or taking Tottenham into some new era. Keep them in the league, and the players are good enough. By the way,
they've got enough talent in there, and despite the fact there's been a re-emergence of West Ham, I still think that West Ham, Burnley and Wolves are gone. So the one spot that's left is West Ham or Nottingham Forest or even Spurs or whoever else we think is in the equation. I think Spurs will get themselves together and it will disappear into the ether about the challenges about relegation. But it makes great headlines right now because they are right in the middle of it, right amongst it, and they've now fired their manager. Who they bring in? Someone that's sensible, I would imagine. Someone that's going to hold order. They don't have to race to do it. They're going to get pumped by Arsenal, whoever they bring in. They can bring in Klopp if they want to. They're still going to get pumped by Arsenal.
Surely that can't be
maybe not pumped, but they need to show some fight and some spirit. One of the players.
I'm sure they will, but they're going to get beaten by Arsenal because Arsenal are a better side.
What's fascinating is that with managers and players, you never know till they go to a bigger club and are put under pressure if they can perform. And Thomas Frank has obviously wilted under the pressure. He's struggling. And the players look like they're not sure what they're doing.
I don't know what you two...
Somebody needs to come in.
I don't know what your reaction will be to this. A lot of messages coming in, 81089. Many people saying, get Big Sam in. Get Sam Allardyce in.
Well, I was thinking...
Other people are saying, get Harry Redknapp in. Are you thinking along those lines,
Yeah,
Danny?
I would, yeah.
What, in the next 11 days, get somebody like that in?
Absolutely.
Arsenal next. And
keep
try
it simple.
Stop.
Simple message.
They'll love Big Sam at Tottenham, won't they? Just like West Ham loved him at West Ham.
But what I'm saying
they'll love it. They'll be behind Big Sam.
What about Harry?
They'll be enthralled. He's had his day. He's had his time. You know, these things.
They said that about Martin O'Neill.
Exactly.
Sure. Okay. Well, then, different circumstances. Different
Moyes still got
in a two-horse league. Okay,
Yeah.
bit
Look what
different,
Moyes
isn't
is
it?
doing at Everton.
Yeah.
I just think some safe hands right now who knows how to manage players and can put out a few fires and just tell. It's a difficult one because whatever you do, whoever you bring in, there is a risk. There's a risk that Tottenham could get relegated.
Do you think Harry Redknapp would want to do this?
Yes.
Do you?
I think he'd bite their hand.
Looking at the group of players that he's got in front of him and looking at the fact that he has in past been actually quite objective about the fact that the players are letting the management down. So he's going to inherit that group of miscreants that have done very little to support their managers in the past.
I think most managers who have got the experience of Harry or Sam or people like that, they always believe they can do a better job than the one before. So the ego...
I don't dispute that, but ultimately it lands in their lap. And then they're responsible for it.
Well, the short and the tall of it is this. Thomas Frank has been sacked in the last few moments by Tottenham. And when you look at the statistics, is it easy or difficult to see why? Not really. No league wins in 2026. Tottenham have won just 2 of 13 home games this season. They're 16th, 5 points clear of the relegation zone. And next up is Arsenal. Would you expect them to get anything out of that? Not really. So they're in a dogfight. It's a relegation scrap. It's as simple as that. But who should be next for them? And last night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where Tottenham lost by 2-1 to Newcastle, they were chanting once again, sacked in the morning, at their own manager. Well, those who are chanting that, you've got your way. You want to join us this morning? 03717 22 3344.
My view of punditry is when I listen to a pundit, whoever that pundit might be, whatever they may be, whether it's male, female, black, white, yellow, green, it's do I learn something from them? Do they engage me? Do I find them interesting and entertaining? And do they merit my attention? And that's my response to the reasons why I was saying the things I said.
He's sitting right beside you.
Yeah, it's an opinion, isn't it? Which
Indeed.
we're all entitled to. I put value on opinions. Right, you have to, because there's
Depends where they come from, right?
Everybody has them, right? So I'm not going to listen to a mob on X who've never ever put themselves in any situation to do anything close to what I've done in my career. I listen to the professionals, right? I listen to the people who've hired me for the last 11 years around the world, the biggest broadcasters in the world. By default, if I'm working with the people who are considered the brilliant broadcasters, then if I'm in the same team as them, next to them, then by default, I'm considered also a brilliant broadcaster. So I take everything you're saying, but the reality is I've been good enough for 11 years, right? And as I said, I'm the person that will go and seek out feedback for someone to go, I think you're struggling. It's never happened.
See, the language that you use, Annie, is, to me, it's steeped in a sense of entitlement. I mean, the sheer weight of the entitlement that you seem to believe that you have would resink the Titanic. I think you've been quite fortuitous. I think because of initiatives like DEI, they've allowed people to be put into positions in the men's game that I don't think they've merited. And now that sort of seeds an attitude that you become a stalwart in the women's game.
Morning, everybody. In the last 15 minutes or so, we got the news. Thomas Frank has been sacked by Tottenham Hotspur. Spurs are 16th in the Premier League, just 5 points above the relegation zone. They're winless in their past 8 Premier League games, their longest run without a win since October 2008. They've won just 2 of their past 17 league matches, and they picked up only 12 points in that time. So after 8 months, Thomas Frank is out of a job. Simon's alongside me, and so too is former Liverpool, former Tottenham midfielder Danny Murphy. And the odds, as far as the bookies are concerned, out-and-out favourite to get the job, 8-11, Roberto De Zerbi, who parted company only last night with Olympique Marseille. But what are Tottenham fans thinking this morning? They were booing Thomas Frank's name before kick-off, some of them. As the teams were announced last night, they were chanting once again throughout the game, sacked in the morning at their own manager. They've got their way. Thomas Frank is out of a job. Who's next? Because in 11 days' time, they're at home to Arsenal. Yes, Arsenal in the Premier League. David is a big Spurs fan. He has called in 03717 223344. David, I think you're calling in from Australia. Good morning. What do you want to say to this news? Frank's gone.
I think that he should have gone about a month or 2 months ago. I'm not going to lie. I thought that when we appointed him, it was a sensible appointment. I thought that he would have good in-game management, tactics, strategy. I thought he'd be a good man manager. He has a track record of improving players. I mean, the list is endless. He's been a massive disappointment. His substitutions are baffling. I think he's totally got the fan base wrong by referring to that lot, the Woolwich, and his first press conference. We may lose more games as we go through this transition. And so, a lot of the blame goes at his door. I think the Chelsea game at home where we didn't lay a glove on a not very good Chelsea team was the first red flag. So some of the blame can be at him, but frankly... He's got 11
players out at the moment, David. 11 players out.
I know that, but the fact is Simon, again, going, well, number 1 Levy was there, number 1 Paratici is there. They're not there anymore. This is Daniel Levy's legacy. This is a poor squad. I'm not expecting to replace a generational talent like Kane with like another generational talent. But
what do you mean this is Daniel Levy's legacy?
Because look at the squad. Look at the squad that we have. It's a poor squad. It's a poor squad. We've gone through a period of time where we didn't buy anyone for a year and a half. The first time I spoke to you this August show was when Conte left, and I said I was very worried. Look how many managers that we've gone through since then.
You could see Daniel Levy's legacy has been a state-of-the-art stadium and a European trophy.
Daniel, if you're saying that a state-of-the-art stadium, which is mortgaged the club up to its eyeballs, He is in the Sunday Times rich list. He's worth $500 million at the moment, and he's going to walk away when he sells the shares. His legacy has been that he's done a great job business-wise. He's made a lot of money for Enid and himself. He's charged the highest season tickets, and he's walked away with one trophy. That's fine. He's won 2 trophies in 20-odd years, and in the 2010s, the first decade, we haven't won a trophy since the 1940s, which was interrupted by that minor thing called World War II. So the blame of this, you've got Enoch, and I joke about the Lewis family, the next generation of new owners. This has been what it's been for 25 years.
What do you say? What would you say to David, Simon?
Well, he's right in the last point, and right in a lot of the points that he makes, and he's right that this squad isn't great, but this squad is not a 17th, 16th in the league squad.
That's the key.
It is a better squad than that. Is it? If you're comparing it with the top 6 side, yes, I think you can say to some extent, with the exception of perhaps Aston Villa, that it's not a great side and not a great squad. But when you say that it's poor per se, it's incumbent upon the manager and the players to get a better outcome. This squad is not a squad that should be sitting 16th in the league, irrespective of how many injuries they've got.
It's full of internationals still, even with the injuries. It's full of international players.
But that's where they were last season.
Yeah, but they've invested.
Yeah, but when you say it's full of internationals, and everyone goes Richarlison, he's Brazil's striker.
Yeah.
You know, if you go back, you remember the 1982 World Cup, Brazil, a great team. They had the Serginho up front, a lump, all due respect to him. He wasn't very good. Richarlison, we paid 60 million quid for him because Everton are FFP issues. He's not good enough. People say internationals very easy these days. We are a mid-table squad and club at the best. Frank should have got more of them. I get that. The fact that 2 seasons running now, we are talking about relegation for a squad of our history, which, Danny, you would know a bit. You played for us.
Oh, we just lost David. He's calling in from Australia.
He's right in terms of the recruitment should have been better. But this squad of players should be in the top half of the table.
I'm looking at the Tottenham Hotspur official statement that's now come in. Results performances have led the board to conclude that a change at this point in the season is necessary. Darren's a big Spurs fan. Darren, your reaction. Good morning.
Mate, hi, morning, mate. Where do we start? I mean, Thomas Frank was so completely out of his depth tactically. No, the way that he was the fans and vice versa. However, let's get real here. We've had Conte, we've had Mourinho, we've had Pochettino, we've had everybody. The fault of where we are, there is only one thing, and that is the owners. And it has been, not last season, this season, 10 years of mismanagement. No, since Paul Barber left our football club, we have had nobody who knows anything about football there. We've got a sporting director from Aston Villa, yeah? Well, how have they done the last few years without him? What has happened at Tottenham under Daniel Levy's chairmanship, but he was working for Enoch, is we've bought all these players for 50 or 60 million quid. It's all about a transfer fee, and a transfer fee is like a mortgage. They haven't paid the wages. There is not one of the front 6 that will get into another top 6 team. And it doesn't matter who you have as manager of that club with these owners. You might as well let Chirpy the mascot be in charge till the end of the season. Because it is such gross negligence as management that Tottenham Hotspur are going to end up like Leeds United did and Newcastle United did with the way that they are run. And I am telling you, and I said this in December, and everybody laughed at me, and I wish I'd have backed it at 300-1. They have not got the players with the bottle or anyone who knows anything about football to get them out of this. Roberto De Zerbi will last 5 minutes under this Tottenham regime.
Darren, let me put this to you before you go. You're going to stay up?
I don't think we are, no. And can I just say one other thing before I go? I don't think we are. It's heartbreaking. I can say one other thing.
Go on.
That sums up Tottenham at the moment, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you know that a load of season ticket holders got emails and letters 2 weeks ago about a recalibration in pricing for next season? That's what Tottenham's become. That's what Tottenham Hotspur, my football team, has become.
Darren, thank you very much indeed for the call. Tottenham say this morning Thomas Frank has conducted himself with unwavering commitment, giving everything in his efforts to move the club forward. But clearly, it wasn't enough, was it? Because Thomas Frank is looking for a new job, sacked in the last half an hour. We're live in talkSPORT. More calls coming up from you after this 10:30 bulletin. 03717 223344.
Romero does what he does. Right, ridiculous tackle. Thomas Frank cannot be blamed for that loss at Man United. Now, he can be blamed for leaving the armband with him or not getting in his head to behave better or control his emotion. That's partly the manager's job. But for Romero to do that after the ridiculous social media stuff, which I still don't understand. You know, what the hell? He should have been fined 2 weeks' wages for that and probably dropped from if they had more players fit and left if they had Danso fit. Well, just right. Because what is he actually saying there? If he's saying to the hierarchy, we haven't got enough players. I mean, is he absolutely stupid? I mean, forwards, Muani, Richarlison, Odobert, Solanke, Madison, Simons, Kudos, Kulusevski, Tell. Forget if you think they're good enough. There's loads of players. Midfield, Sarr, Gallagher, Bergvall, Gray, Bentancur, Paulinho. Now, they've got more forward options than any other team in the Prem. So what's he saying? Now, if he'd have come out and gone articulately, I think we've got to have a look at the medical stuff. Or the coaching. Something's not right. The pitches. We can't have that many players injured. Something's not right here. Something's got to be looked at. Someone upstairs has got to look at what's going on with all these injured players. How can we have that many injured players? That's ridiculous. I'd go strong, you know, but maybe he's got a point. His point, there's no substance to the out.
There's no intelligence with it, is there?
No, because they've got more players. They've got more options in forward play. They've got, I've just named 9. It's
Sport is often filled with people trying to make a quick buck, often at fans' expenses. But sometimes someone on the fringes comes up with an exhibition idea that goes down a storm. Let me tell you about a couple of them. Mallorca 2007. Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer compete in what was dubbed the Battle of the Surfaces, a unique idea that reportedly almost got cancelled at the last minute when worms got into the grass. An 11th hour turf delivery got the match on, and despite some dodgy bounces on the new green stuff, Rafa and Roger slugged out a 3-set epic. Tennis has a history of exhibitions too, with the Battle of the Sexes in 1973 captivating audiences worldwide as Billie Jean King took on the former world #1 men's player Bobby Riggs, who talked down the women's game. Billie Jean King won. In motorsport, there was Monzanapolis in the 50s when American Indy cars went up against European F1 cars. But perhaps the best exhibitions have been the charity ones. In 1998, legends like Mike Atherton, Sachin Tendulkar and Glenn McGrath turned out at Lord's for a one-dayer in memory of Princess Diana. And since 2006, we've had Soccer Aid, which has raised an incredible amount of money. And if you get to see the likes of Jose Mourinho taking out Ollie Mers, then what's not to like?
Good morning, everybody. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy. We're live on talkSPORT. We're also live on your TV, Samsung, Fire TV, Chromecast, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch the show, you can do so. Watch it and listen to it at the same time. How good is that? Big night of games in the Premier League last night. It was a draw between Chelsea and Leeds. Bournemouth went to Everton and won. West Ham against Manchester United. United equalised at the death. But we are dwelling upon Spurs 1, Newcastle United 2, and that one proved just too much for the Spurs hierarchy to take. And just before we came on air, they sacked Thomas Frank. He has gone as head coach, as manager of the football club. But no league wins in 2026. Tottenham have won just 2 of 13 home games this season. It's a run of 2 wins in 17 in the league. Thomas Frank has been sacked. 11 days until the next game at home to Arsenal. Was it a timely window for change? Well, the hierarchy thought it was, and that's why they've made a change. Simon, just in the meantime, before I head back to the calls, if you were up there in the Spurs hierarchy at the moment, would you be all out to appoint somebody now on a permanent basis, or would it be interim until you had a good old think about it?
I think it's a difficult question to answer because you've got to understand why it is that Thomas Frank has failed. And there'll be a variety of opinions. I don't care what people say. This is not, despite the fact they finished 17th last year and they're sitting in 17th this season, this is not, to me, a bottom 6 side. This is a side that should be comfortably, with the quality they've got in it, sitting inside the top 10, moving towards perhaps 8th in the league and nothing really much beyond that. So the question would have to be, why did Thomas Frank not achieve the things that we thought he's going to do, and what do we need to do to arrest? If we really believe that we're staring a team that's completely degraded now and is really on the cusp of being drawn into a real relegation battle with West Ham or whoever else is beneath them, then I'd be looking at someone that's going to get me past this initial problem. And whether that's, as myself and Danny were discussing, the break the style of play issue that ultimately makes it more simple. You don't want players playing out from the back. You don't want players having too much possession, because ultimately the moment they do a bad pass, the fans will be on their back. You perhaps want to just go simplified football. And then you talk about managers that can do that. I mean, Sam Allardyce is busy doing commercials on TV, isn't he? I mean, that to me, those days seem like they've gone.
Yeah.
But it might not be.
Yeah.
De Zerbi, De Zerbi's a good coach. He brings his own set of problems. But the fact of the matter is that there's a group of players there. I mean, one of the things that really undermined Thomas Frank in my mind was Romero. Not just because not just because of his performances on the field, but because his outbursts. As an owner of a football club, if I saw a player seeming to believe he's got license to say these sort of things, I'd be looking at my manager going, what kind of control have you got over these players? And yeah, we saw instances of Thomas Frank on the field where players wouldn't shake his hand and stuff of that nature. And I think that's the modern day footballer, full stop anyway.
But Romero was pointing his posts at the hierarchy, but not at Thomas Frank.
Yeah, but he was speaking. That's not his job. That's not his space. That's not his place. If you've got people like if you've got the lunatics running the asylum, who is in control?
I said on Monday night when I did the show on here, he should have fined him and took the armband off him. You can't have players going out talking about the hierarchy, talking about anything, whether he's talking about the medical team, whether he's talking about why. I don't even know what his message meant, but we've covered that. But I think he is a symbol of what's wrong at Tottenham. There's no. The leadership isn't strong enough. It doesn't look like he's been in complete control of the football element. Some of the players, some days they give it a go, some days they're off it. That's not the sign of a great leader.
But briefly, Danny, do you worry tactically if it's De Zerbi?
Short term, I would, because all his teams play through the lines. Really strong on possession. I think I've said on it before, I was lucky enough to watch him do a couple of sessions. It was really impressive.
Yeah.
And when his Brighton team were at it, they were as good as I've seen Brighton. In fact, Brighton are much worse now than the De Zerbi Brighton. But they always play. He won't be going. And I just don't think as a group of players, when your confidence is low and you're desperate for points and the fans are disgruntled, last thing you want to be doing is trying to play out from the back. When your keeper's Vicario's a nervous kitten with the ball anyway.
I just squared a circle, because when you saw Tottenham play against Man City in the second half and you saw Tottenham play against Dortmund at home, this was not a side that was bereft of confidence. Alex just did it and said, well, it was against 10 men. It wasn't against 10 men for the first 30 minutes where Tottenham ripped them to pieces. So how do you talk about a lack of confidence in that situation?
Well, I think the Champions League games for Tottenham generally have been against poor opposition. Dortmund was a decent performance for 20 minutes. I was at the game. There was a good intensity about them. It was a good start to a game. The other good elements, the second half against Villa in the Cup, the second half against City in the league, that's players reacting when you're already losing.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest time to play. At being able to show that level of commitment on the ball and bravery on the ball when it's 0-0 and there's 60,000 people on your case.
Yeah.
That's where the true players are.
Well, call after call after call is coming in from Tottenham fans. They were chanting last night, "You're getting sacked in the morning," at Thomas Frank. Those who were chanting that have got their way. Thomas Frank's been sacked. Jason, good morning. Were you one of those saying he should be sacked in the morning?
I wasn't saying he should be sacked in the morning. I was at the game. I was also away at Manchester United on Saturday. And look, answering Simon's question, Simon said, why hasn't it really worked out for Thomas? And part of the reason for that is because I don't believe Thomas Frank was ever the right appointment, because Thomas Frank didn't have the credentials or the experience to run a club like Tottenham Hotspur. He at the start of the season for Brentford, it would be, you've got to stay in the Premier League. So he wasn't a manager that came that was used to getting clubs into the top four. And the expectation of the fans at Spurs and for what we hear from the board is that we want to be challenging and be in the top four. Realistically speaking, we don't have the players to do that, but we shouldn't be 17th in the Premier League. Do I feel sorry for Thomas Frank this morning? Honestly, yes. Do I think we needed to make a change? Yes, because I think he'd lost the dressing room. And I think once you lose the dressing room, that's a serious problem when you're at 17th in the Premier League. But really, where people are coming on and absolutely flagging off Daniel Levy. It was Daniel Levy that he took that club. Alan Sugar left a fantastic foundation at Tottenham. Daniel Levy came on and built on that foundation. And we got to a final of the Champions League. We were challenging for a couple of seasons to win the Premier League. And yes, he made mistakes along the way, but I can't put the finger or the blame at Daniel Levy. I think that's completely wrong. But ENIC, I think are a disgrace, and I think that I feel sorry for Thomas because I think he's been massively let down by ENIC, not Daniel Levy.
Okay, Jason, thank you for that. Neville, good morning. Do you feel sorry for Thomas Frank, Neville?
No, I'm fuming this morning, Jim, Simon, Danny. I've supported Spurs since 1960. And I've got a broken leg, and I think the people who mended my leg can mend my leg quicker than ENIC can Tottenham Hotspur. Daniel Levy was the best thing that happened to Tottenham, to leave Tottenham, and now we've got his people he left behind running the club with no rudder. You know what? I've supported Tottenham since 1960, and with this lot in charge, if we were to be relegated, that would be better then, because we can get rid of the so-called board that run a football club, who are a big football club, and these fans who demand Thomas Frank get a sack. Okay,
What you'd welcome relegation, Neville?
I would, with a heavy heart, say I'm sad to say we'll go down. What next? We've sacked him. What's the plans to appoint someone? De Serbi, do me a favour. Let's get someone in who we deserve to run that great football club of ours.
Who, Neville?
It's not good enough. Who? I don't know, and I don't think they know neither. They're waiting, and I've got it from good sources, they're waiting for Pochettino after the World Cup. Okay, we've got to wait till July for Pochettino, and he'll walk back into that place.
Okay, Neville, listen, thanks for the call. There's a lot of anger out there, Danny. You can sense it. A lot of frustration as well. And Simon, ENIC, constantly being brought up. Finger of blame being pointed at them, being pointed at Daniel.
Yeah, because people expect more. And if you've got this wonderful stadium and you've got this significant turnover and you've arrived repeatedly in and amongst the top four over recent seasons up until the last 2 or 3 years, you've been in a Champions League final, you've missed opportunities when the fans think that Pochettino should have been supported post the Champions League final. They didn't kick on from there. Of course, there's going to be an element of disappointment and irritation and frustration. The ownership model wasn't going to change, because the ownership model was the ultimate controlling influence behind Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy worked within the confines of the guidelines that he was allowed to work, irrespective of whether he had autonomy on a daily basis, that ENIC set. So it wasn't going to be any different. So I'm quite pleased that they're catching some of the shrapnel that they're quite happy to allow Daniel to get in the way of. But we've got to get context as well. This side, with this group of players and this kind of investment being put into this squad, irrespective of whether you think they're top players, is not a bottom four, bottom five side. No. The reasons why it is because they're not being managed in a certain way, and I feel sorry for Thomas Frank because he lost his nerve. He started fine at Spurs, then lost his nerve, and at the same time as having a lot of players injured, he couldn't construct a dynamic that created outcomes. Yet he got individual outcomes. Every single time you felt that Thomas was going to turn the corner, back it came. He goes and beats Dortmund. You think that's a turning point. He goes and gets a 2-2
So what's he a good appointment then?
I think it was a sensible appointment. How do you know if someone can step up unless you take that view? You have every challenge in life that you bring in top managers like Mourinho and you bring in top managers like Conte, and you have a framework at Tottenham Hotspur. Some football clubs have a different framework. Some football clubs are owned by Middle Eastern consortiums and have a different way of operating. Tottenham Hotspur in the 90s, prior to Alan Sugar, were going bust. Prior to Sugar, who set the principle of how Tottenham's going to be run. Prior to that, Irving Scholar. Yeah, they won trophies in a different time. Yeah, they won trophies every single year. Football has changed. They're not operating in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Long have come Chelsea. Arsenal have always been a legacy football club. Liverpool have been a legacy football club for a long time. Man United the same. Man City have arrived with a big bag of cash. Tottenham's model was different. It was set up by Sugar, but prior to that, Tottenham were going to go bust.
Yeah.
So you've got a club that's being well run economically, but the expectations of the fans, and rightly so, is to see some silverware, to see a progress.
Yeah. Okay, Simon says that Thomas Frank lost his nerve. Well, now he's lost his job. Interestingly, I hear that Spurs players have 5 days off. There's no game this weekend, 11 days before they play next, and that's against Arsenal. So plenty of time for them to contemplate the future. Thomas Frank is gone.
In the two high-profile times when I've accused anyone of racism or sexism, a High Court has agreed with me. A parliamentary committee has agreed with me. So, and I've got reams of evidence.
Oh, absolutely.
Of
I mean,
people,
you're talking about Mark Sampson and Joey Barton.
Right, but the point is, I'm not
But
the
that's
person.
the extreme end of the equation, isn't it?
Right,
What is the point?
No, but
Go on,
my
Annie.
point is, that's also replicated online. So there's reams and reams of evidence of people online.
But you did it to me.
I
told me.
apologise for
No,
that
I don't have a
because
problem with it
yeah.
because it's your opinion. You said to me about me that I'm a sexist.
No,
and I
didn't.
don't think
said-
I am. I think I have a strident
didn't say that.
opinion.
said
I have a
think
daughter.
I think you pander to an audience.
Yeah, and that in itself
I think you
could be considered to be something that people would. I could be robust in my rejection of it. It's your opinion. You're entitled to it,
Well,
and I like you should do. I only take the value of a people's opinion from someone whose opinion I respect.
Yeah.
Your opinion isn't relevant to me, and my opinion, to some extent, shouldn't be relevant to you. And if you are strong in the views that you have, I admire you for having the strength of them. But everything that you seem to portray in life seems to be that every disadvantage that you have is because either you're a woman or because you're black, and it's got nothing to do with your contribution to the equation and the way that people perceive you.
I'll always take responsibility if I think I've done something wrong. I'm the first person to apologise if I think, oh, I shouldn't have said that or that went the wrong way. You can find multiple examples of me apologising, but there is a reality that I do suffer sometimes a disadvantage because people abuse me for my identity.
Just before 10 o'clock this morning, Tottenham Hotspur told us results and performances have led the board to conclude that a change at this point in the season is necessary. And they went on to tell us that the club had taken the decision to make change in the men's head coach position. Thomas Frank will leave today. Maybe he hasn't left just yet, but he's gone. It's over for Thomas Frank at Tottenham Hotspur. What next? De Zerbi heads to the list of those who the bookmakers tell us are favourites to take over at the football club. Roberto De Zerbi, once of Brighton, more recently of Olympique Marseille, and he's left the French club and could well be heading to Tottenham Hotspur. We shall see. Going to try on a quick fire basis get through one or two calls before we hit 11 o'clock. David, big Spurs fan. David, what's your reaction to the news?
Yeah, hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning,
David.
It's very, hello there. I've been coming since the 70s. I've never thought, I so hope we get relegated. I so hope we go down. It will do the club the world of good, believe it or not. They need all the papering over the cracks that's been happening. If they was to survive by 1 or 2 points, it'd be the same old, same old. There's not one player apart from Mickey in that side that's got any substance to them. Thomas Frank, the job was too big for him. There was no way, even you can see what Keith Andrews is doing at Brentford, so he never done so wonderful at Brentford anyway. The job was too big for him, and it's embarrassing. It's a terrible watch. It's the dearest season ticket in the Premier League. It's just the owners, every year, same. It's just incredibly embarrassing. And to think we're relying on West Ham, I really hope we get... I've looked at the fixtures. We've got to go to Liverpool. We've got to go to Chelsea. We're going to Fulham. Arsenal, the game against Arsenal at home. I can't see. The problem is, it's not just the management and the owners.
Yeah.
That side is not good enough. Not good enough.
So before you leave us, David, do you hope that Tottenham lose in 11 days to Arsenal?
Yes, I hope we lose I want us to go down. Simple as that.
All right.
Because it will be the only thing that will actually get something done properly. And what will, fingers crossed, then happen, things will change, come up straight away, and actually you can start moving forward. By papering over the cracks and doing what's going on year in and year out. We've got 1 point less than with Ange last year, who was also useless.
Is there not a concern? David, is there not a concern if you go down that it might not just be as simple as bouncing back?
Exactly, Danny.
And then you're in the doldrums.
I understand what you're saying there, Dan. I understand what you're saying. I'd like to think that with everything properly, a lot of sides who go down, a lot of them, I'd like to think that we would come up.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to take that risk.
Yeah.
Because what you can't have is week in and week out this.
David, thanks for the call. Lee, big Tottenham fan. Lee, he's had to cope with 11 injuries at the moment, mate. What do you think?
It's through to me now, is it?
Yes, that's you, Lee.
Oh, hello. Yeah.
Are you Lee? Lee?
Yeah, the thing is, everyone's been kind of really bigging up about the injuries and things like that. I understand it, but we are missing some really creative players. But for me, there's no structure, there's no system. Like I watch us play football, and I honestly couldn't tell you what type of football we're trying to play. We're not counter-attack, we're not high press, we're not possession-based. There's nothing.
Do you think some of that though is down to the fact he's been with the different injuries coming at different stages? He's having to mess around with formations and tweak it game to game, trying to find a solution to get results. So therefore that you don't see an identity because of that. I agree with you, by the way. I still think you should have an identity. Simon and I was talking about this off air. I've played under managers, irrelevant of injuries, you still play the same way. But I think he's just so desperately trying to get results that he's actually moving away from probably his belief of how he wanted to play.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's certainly been hard in the second half of the season, but I mean, we started okay this year. But again, except for that Man City game where we looked unbelievable, we still didn't look like a great footballing team in some of the other games.
No, you didn't. No.
And we had, most of these players available. Obviously, lost Maddison and things like that, and they are a creative spark and they are important, especially the way we played. But yeah, I feel like a lot of some of the other callers said, I think maybe Frank was out of his depth for this one.
Okay, Lee, listen, thanks for the call. We're going to take, we'll take a sharp intake of breath because it's Matt. I wonder if it's the Matt that we know and love. Matt, good morning.
Morning, guys. Yeah, to be honest with you, Jim, I've heard your callers in today, and yeah, majority of them have been talking sense. The bottom line is it's the owners. Thomas Frank, we know he's out of his depth. That's besides all that. They've created this mess, and it hasn't been overnight. It was with that other parasite. It's just been ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. And you pointed out, that's a disgraceful comment you made about the stadium, and he's won a European trophy. That is an absolute disgrace to know where Tottenham Hotspur have been heading.
Those are two statements of fact, Matt.
No, forget your facts, mate. Forget your facts. It's a disgraceful comment to say about a stadium when Tottenham Hotspur went through a transfer season, 2 transfer windows without buying anything, and he was playing the same players, and he got to a Champions League final. And you're talking to me about a stadium, and you're talking to me about winning a European trophy that really nobody wanted to win. And I want to talk to Danny Murphy, where Danny turned around and said, with this squad, Tottenham should be at least in the top half of the league. And Simon said that.
Yes.
Do you know what?
I heard them, Matt. I heard them.
Mate, that's another disgraceful comment. Because you know what? Let me tell you. Danny Murphy knows more than anybody. You finish where you deserve to finish. Tottenham Hotspur finished 17th last year, not because of any other reason, but should we blame injuries? No, it's not injuries. Those players are clearly not good enough. That's why they finished 17th. Thomas Frank come in, started giving it all the large about, they finished 17th and blah, blah, and now Tottenham are 16th, a point less. What does that tell you? Does that tell you, Tottenham should be in the top half? That tells you we've got poor footballers at the football club. And I'm going to read you this. I'm going to read you that, and I want Danny, because you're an ex-pro, mate. I'm going to read you this 11. Vicario, please tell me he's going to get in the top half. Is he better than Pope that played last night?
No, I'm with you on Vicario. I'm with you 100%.
No, don't talk. Not just him. What about Dragoulson that we got sold the story? The fans got sold the story. Oh, but he wanted to go to Bayern Munich. I'm not stupid, mate. We've got Jed Spence playing left back. Mate, if you need to plaster your wall in your flat, you need to plaster it. If you don't plaster it, it's going to crumble. And you leave it and you leave it and leave it, and you know what? The whole thing falls apart.
Matt, the neighbours are complaining, mate. The neighbours are complaining.
Mate, we need a left back. We've got Jed Spence, right-footed player, playing left back for the last 2 seasons. We got Conor Gallagher. That's a cheap option because you know what? He ain't going to go anywhere else, and he wants to get in England.
35 million.
We've got Bissouma, who's blowing on balloons, playing for us. We've got Saar. We've got Solanke. Oh my God, Solanke! People telling me that he's a good player. Danny, am I getting fooled on this, mate?
Well, Matt, sit down. If you're in your living room, sit down, and Danny will address those points.
He's picking out some players where he's got some justification in his arguments for some of them. But if you look around the squad generally, my point is simple, is that under different management and a different coach this season, even with that group, even though recruitment hasn't been brilliant, I still think when you look at some of the other squads, sitting in the middle of the table, you'd take Tottenham's ahead of them.
Danny, I tell you what, I'll have a £500 bet with you to charity. We'll put the money to charity of your choice and my choice, and I'll bet you any money this club, with these individuals, will not finish, even with a new manager, will not even finish 14th because they're not good enough. Danny, you're fooling the public out there, mate, with your comments. It's not a reality. The realities are these individuals are poor. They're not good enough. You've got goalkeeper, you've got centre-halves, you've got left backs, you've got right backs, you've got midfielders. They're constantly causing mistakes that's costing goals. That is not Thomas Frank.
Okay. You've got Van der Ven and Romero, who've been talked about as the best centre-half pairing in Europe 6 months ago.
Yeah, correct. But do you remember when last year they were saying, but when these two aren't playing in the team, Tottenham don't win? When they played the majority of this season, mate. And what's happened? Should we blame Thomas Frank? It doesn't matter who you bring in. It won't change because you've still got individuals that make mistakes, Danny. Come on, mate.
They make mistakes.
Matt, I'm almost hesitant to ask it, but are you going to get relegated, do you think?
Well, do you know what? When I look at the way we are, and I had this conversation with Simon Jordan the other day when he was trying to mock me about beating Borussia Dortmund.
I know, I heard it.
I said to him, we will not win. But do you know what? Borussia Dortmund turned up, and you know what? They're in the playoffs, so they're not going to give it all because they had an important league game on Saturday. That's how it works. But Tottenham Hotspur will not gain no points with these individuals. And do you know what? It's a sad to say, this football club will go down because when I watch West Ham with Bowen and I see them midfielders fighting for a battle, because you know what? They're actually not great. But you know what? They're good enough to stay up.
Matt, we want to thank you for joining us again this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Matt kind of starts there, doesn't he? And then finishes there.
He's passionate, and that's fine.
He's passionate, and that's fine. Roberto De Zerbi is a man who the bookies tell us is the man that people want to take over from the sacked Thomas Franks. 11 o'clock.
Mo, what happened yesterday?
Candy.
What happened yesterday?
Candy, listen.
What happened?
Candy. Listen.
Mo, what happened?
Listen. We still gonna go we still can do the double, Candy. The cups.
What happened yesterday though? What happened yesterday?
To win.
Mo, what happened yesterday?
Yes, what is on? Listen, yesterday's game, like I said, I don't want to talk about it, Candy.
No, why don't you want to talk about it? No, that's what we're talking about.
What is on? Listen, we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about tomorrow's match.
No. Here's what we're talking about. What happened yesterday?
Candy.
Yep.
Candy.
Yep.
Come on, Candy.
What happened yesterday?
Candy, listen.
Yeah, what happened yesterday, man?
I've said this all the time to you, every single time. I keep repeating myself. Liverpool have been done by VAR so many times, it's unreal.
You lost 2-1.
The referee was shocking, Candy.
You lost 2-1.
And do you know what, Candy? Yesterday, it wasn't a surprise to me. It wasn't a surprise. I mean, our team turned up in the second half. We were just absolutely superb. The boys were absolutely superb.
You conceded 2 goals.
Candy, what are you on about now? Candy.
Mo, you conceded 2.
Listen, Jimmy G, you can't say anything, yeah? you cannot talk. You've got no room to talk.
You can't be blaming VAR, mate. You can't be blaming VAR.
Jimmy G, listen, your captain got sent off. He just done it deliberately.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 5 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. In case you've missed the last 45 minutes of angry calls, Thomas Frank's been sacked by Spurs after 8 months. Former Crystal Palace chairman Simon Jordan's asking why this job seemed to be bigger than him.
What has manifested itself that a manager that's clearly capable of managing players and producing a side is not capable of getting an outcome in the English Premier League with a side like Tottenham Hotspur that he's capable of producing in the Champions League? There's a whole raft of questions that Tottenham internally have got to ask themselves.
With Spurs just 5 points off the bottom 3, talkSPORT's Danny Murphy says they should go for Big Sam or Harry Redknapp till the end of the season.
I just think some safe hands right now who knows how to manage players and can put out a few fires and just help. It's a difficult one because whatever you do, whoever you bring in, there is a risk. There's a risk that Tottenham could get relegated.
Do you think Harry Redknapp would want to do this?
Yes.
We understand the newly available Roberto De Zerbi would be interested. There's more on this breaking story at talksport.com. Now, after South Africa needed a second super over to beat Afghanistan at the T20 World Cup, Australia are batting first against Ireland. Sam Ellard's watching for us.
A crucial couple of overs coming up. The game is nicely poised. 18 overs gone. Australia 159 for 6. So an important 12 balls coming up. Marcus Stoinis is the best Aussie batter so far, 45 from 29. Ireland, though, have done really well to take wickets throughout the innings. Inglis made 37, Green 21, Renshaw 37. Lots of Aussie batters getting starts, not being able, though, to bat deep and put Australia up to a big total. 18 overs gone. Australia with work to do at 159 for 6.
Thank you, Sam. England play West Indies this afternoon, and Rory McIlroy says golf doesn't need a fifth major amid fresh talk about the Players' Championship being elevated. McIlroy's defending his Pebble Beach Pro-Am title live on TalkSport 2 tomorrow night.
TalkSport News.
2 boys stabbed at a school in London remain in a serious condition in hospital as a 13-year-old suspect is questioned. And if the relentless rain hasn't been enough, a cold weather alert's been issued for later this week. More from the news team at past.
TalkSport weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Staying largely cloudy with outbreaks of rain for most of us. In the north, fairly windy and cold, feeling mild in the south.
Good morning, everybody. 8 minutes past 11 o'clock this Wednesday morning. Wednesday being Wednesday, Danny Murphy is in our midst. It is Wednesday, February the 11th, and we are live in TalkSport, live on your TV as well, even Prime Video, wherever you want to watch the show. And so many of you are watching it, judging by yesterday, went through the roof, didn't it? Well, many of you watching the show this morning as well, and I'm delighted about that. And the headline story, of course, this morning is that Tottenham have sacked Thomas Frank. Tottenham told us just as we came on air, results and performances have led the board to conclude that a change at this point in the season is necessary. Thanks for all those who've been sending in messages, who have been calling in. And the name in the frame at the moment is Roberto De Zerbi. That's who the bookmakers think is more than odds on to take over as the next manager of Tottenham Hotspur. And they don't play for another 11 days. And when they play again, it's the North London derby. Who knows what will happen then? But no doubt about it, Tottenham Hotspur looking at a relegation fight at this particular time. Now, another club in a similar bracket to Tottenham, in that same kind of relegation area, very much so, is West Ham United. West Ham up against Manchester United last night, but then a late equaliser for United through Benjamin Sesko, and it was a point apiece at the end of the night. What does it tell us? Does it puncture West Ham in their bid to get away from the relegation zone? Or, Danny, is the momentum still with the Hammers in what is a battle for survival?
I think momentum's still good. Performance level good. The crowd was with them. It was good energy, well organised. Lots of positives to take from that. And when you're down there fighting for your life, that's all you can do. You keep putting in good performances, the points come. They didn't look like a side fighting relegation. They look well organised. They look fitter and stronger than they have in a while. And that's because confidence is up.
I mean, you were in something similar with Fulham.
Yeah.
What is the mindset at a time like this?
Well, I mean, the hardest thing to do when you're playing games down the bottom, I found, was enjoy it. But they looked like they were enjoying the task. And that's credit to the manager, because they were dead and buried, West Ham. I thought they were done. So he's been working damn hard on that training pitch. And he's found a way of playing. I mean, Somerville's helped.
Yeah.
He's playing the best football of his career. He looks sharp. He's going past people. He's scoring goals. Obviously, Bowen's a decent player. The lad they brought in, the striker, Tati, he looks good as well. He looks like he can lead the line. So they've done things right, but it's still a mountain to climb because other teams around them are fighting for their life. Forest have got good players as well. So it's not a guarantee, but they do look like they'll give themselves a hell of a good chance. And going off my eyes and what I've seen from the other teams fighting, I'd have West Ham staying up.
So, Simon, next, Bournemouth at home, Liverpool away, Fulham away. Yeah. Can you see them picking up points in the coming games? Because they've got to.
Well, I mean, when you saw West Ham get beat at home by Nottingham Forest at the beginning of the year, you felt to yourself, this is a side that's gone. And we obviously had the agent friend of yours or David Sullivan's texting in saying that Nuno Espirito Santo wasn't the guy to get him out of trouble, and he's told David Sullivan this. And on the back of a win against QPR, all of a sudden West Ham seemed to get themselves galvanised that they were unlucky against Chelsea. I mean, now they managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory against Chelsea after being 2-0 up. And that would have been, I think, if you'd have asked West Ham, would you take a point against an informed Man United before the game all day, they'd have taken a point. The fact is that they were 1-0 up and obviously conceded a goal in the 96th minute is a disappointment from them, but it's a bloody good point. Now they go on to other games. Bournemouth have regained their poise. Yeah. Bournemouth are back now amongst where they were at the beginning of the season.
But you'll get chances against them.
And you'll get chances against them. Do I think they're out of the woods? Not by a long way. They've got Liverpool after that. They've got Fulham, which is always a difficult game, even though I thought Fulham, when I saw them play at Christmas or just before Christmas against Palace, were a poor side, have got themselves together. They've got Man City, they've got Aston Villa. They've got a group of games that are coming up. I would still say it's upon them in terms of the likely third spot. And that's me looking at Sean Dyche and thinking that Sean Dyche has the wherewithal and the know-how to get Nottingham Forest out of this particular predicament. They've got a game against Wolves coming up, tonight, I suspect, isn't it? The game against Wolves. If they beat Wolves, they'll be, again, 6 points clear of West Ham. And again, it's still, or 3 points clear. So, yeah, 5 points clear. They'll still be in a situation where they've got a lot to do, West Ham. But what they've given themselves is a hell of a chance, because the amount of points they've picked up in the last 4 or 5 games has been completely against what people would have thought they'd done. You've got all the credit to the manager.
Thomas Suchek had given them a lead on the 50th minute, and it looked like they were going to get all 3 points. Sesko made the difference for United, and they left with a point apiece. But thereafter, Nuno Espirito Santo was still upbeat.
Yeah, we've been able to react, to bounce back from these disappointed moments that we've been having through the season, and the boys always been able to react and to compete. There's no other way. We have to keep on going. Today, I think we compete well and show the way. Our standards are high. We have to keep them.
I wondered, Danny, tonight, as Simon said, Nottingham Forest host Wolves. It's a talkSPORT 2 exclusive. Could Marinakis, the owner of Forest, could his decision-making inadvertently relegate Forest, sacking Nuno, who ends up at relegation rivals West Ham, appointing Postecoglou to sack him 39 days later, before landing at Sean Dyche? I mean, you could say much of this season could be down to self-sabotage.
Possibly, yeah. That would be fair. You'd think it won't happen because of Dyche's experience and the players they've got, but trying to juggle a European campaign and Premier League survival isn't easy. And I think what Sean Dyche has realised is that although the squad's quite big, he doesn't quite trust a lot of the squad players. He's playing the same team quite a lot in both competitions because he, especially after the Wrexham defeat, he verbalised his discontent around some of the players who he'd brought in who'd been knocking on his door to play. So I don't know. This is a massive one for them tonight to give them some breathing space. If they weren't to beat Wolves, then that changes things a bit. So it's a huge one for them. But yeah, you could. I mean, on the flip side of what you said, I think Marinakis was quite bold in the fact, not bold, but I think he was correct in realising the Ange experiment wasn't going to work. You can't go from one extreme to the other with a team. He wanted them to be more attacking and front foot.
But he is Jim's point is right. He's the architect of the downfall. The idea that Nuno Espirito Santo did a wonderful job at Forest last year, and we know that Forest were operating at such a high level with players week in, week out, putting in 9.9 performances, and it was unsustainable. Chris Wood's never had a season like that. Will never have another season like that again. Everything he hit went in the back of the net, and so we saw that there were issues there with Nottingham Forest that they probably needed to build a stronger squad. The fact he fell out on Nuno Espirito Santo, the fact that the allegations were that he was out there looking at managers that might play a different brand of football, I think is destructive. And so Nuno Espirito Santo set the hair running by talking about his own and got himself sacked. But the architect of that was the owner, creating division with his manager.
But wasn't it? Couldn't it have been a case that he started looking at the managers when Nuno started questioning? Because you've always been sat here and you criticise managers for starting to open the mouth, start talking about the hierarchy like they own the place.
I understand the timeline was that the owner
the other way around
was looking at other managers prior to the manager flapping his gums.
Okay.
And so the manager then flapped his gums because he had nothing left to lose. He was being undermined left, right and centre.
Yeah.
And so he got himself booted out the door. Then the owner makes a decision with Postecoglou and everyone scratched their head and went, well, how's that going to work? You've got a side that plays a completely different way to the way Postecoglou plays. It's going to be a disaster. And so it was a disaster. So he's had to go back. He's gone back down the food chain with respect to Sean, to a less progressive manager in terms of the way that he wants to play, because apparently he wanted a style of football that plays in a certain way. He's gone back round the houses and gone back to a more pragmatic manager in Sean Dyche because he's in a desperate situation. So it's on the owner.
Can you
but
imagine?
All the success for the football club is on the owner too. So all the fact that Nottingham Forest were dragged out of 23 years of slumber by this owner and put in the Premier League is on him, so he's entitled to get it wrong as well.
Simon, can you imagine if Forest go down and West Ham stay up, and the finger pointing that will go on regards Marinakis?
You've still got Leeds and Tottenham in this as well.
Yeah, I think.
But Leeds 2 down.
Leeds are up and away now. They're a different side.
Turned it around last night.
Do you know what? I'm a big fan of Leeds, and I hope they do stay up. And they are playing some really good football, but they've won one of their last 6 games.
They keep on picking up points though.
No, they do, and I think
might be draws, but
they might be fine.
They'll draw their way to safety.
I'm just saying that they're playing really well and still not winning that many games. So if their form drops off a little bit, you'd think if they're playing that well,
confidence must be there because they keep on. Look at the sides they've taken points off. Big sides. Okay, they got battered by Arsenal the other day.
Yeah, but there's no shame in that.
They battered Palace at Christmas. Over Christmas, they're getting good points, solid points. So they'll draw their way to safety.
Maybe, yeah.
But you look at Forest and you say, Marinakis will cop for it. But this is the same. The only reason this football club is in the Premier League is
true.
True.
There. I agree. I love the phrase flapping gums.
Do you?
He flaps his gums. I'll flap mine now. Just a reminder.
That's what happens to you when you take your teeth out.
Very much so. Nottingham Forest against Wolves is a talkSPORT 2 exclusive. And in the meantime, I've run over a bit. It's 11:18, but we're live on talkSPORT. Courtesy of Thelco with the trade growth.
Legendary retired referee Dermot Gallagher joins us here on the show. How are we, Dermot?
Hi, Majestic. Hi, Al.
Hi, Dermot. Listen, let's just get your thoughts off that straight off the bat. We don't want to ask you no questions. You're the ref. Tell us what you saw.
I have to say, I get what Alan says, and I think lots and lots of people will say, give the goal. It keeps 11 against 11. It keeps everybody happy. But when you look at it, there's no doubt whatsoever Szoboszlai is fouled, and by Haaland fouling him, he will argue that stopped him clearing the ball off the line. But you go back, the only reason Szoboszlai gets that far back is because he actually hauls Haaland back. That's the first foul. So I don't think I think Craig has tried to play advantage because he thinks it'll be a goal.
Definitely, Dermot. He's played advantage, isn't he?
Yeah, he's played advantage, and bear in mind, Al, that he can always bring that back if it goes wrong. So
but if you go to the second part, right, where Haaland fouls him, right, but the ball's gone in the net. So why didn't he play advantage there as well?
Well, he can't play an advantage for foul on Szoboszlai, can he? Because if the ball's in the net, the game, it's terminated, isn't it? That moves over. But if you actually look, that ball's not in the net when he pulls Szoboszlai back. And the problem there, Al, is that once
don't you think he see that, Dermot? Don't you think he see the first incident, right? And he's played on.
Yeah.
He's seen the second incident. He must have seen it. It was fairly obvious. And he still give a goal. That was the on-field decision, wasn't it?
The on-field decision was goal. That's correct. So all I can presume is he hasn't.
Thanks for all the texts and the tweets and the messages coming in. Honestly, the reaction to the show these days is absolutely seismic. We're delighted about it, and thanks for your reaction. In the Championship last night, Birmingham City drew 0-0 with West Brom. On the subject of Birmingham City and Blues fans, many of you will probably be aware of this, but it's quite upsetting news. Birmingham City chairman Tom Wagner recently suffered a stroke. Birmingham City tell us, thanks to rapid medical intervention, he received immediate treatment and is now receiving excellent care. The club say, we're pleased to share that he's making a good recovery. He'll be stepping back from day-to-day activity for a period of time. Tom remains closely connected to the club, and we all look forward to welcoming Tom back to the football club. I've met Tom Wagner, Simon. Very, very pleasant man, very capable individual, obviously, as well. But these top jobs in football, and this is one, chairman of Birmingham City, they're trying to get themselves to the Premier League. It's bound to take its toll, isn't it? I mean, you've been in a top job in football, so, albeit you were a young man, but you know, your health comes into it.
I mean, pressure's all relative, isn't it? I mean, some people can, I mean, I'm not, it may well be that he has other pressures in other walks of life in terms of other businesses that create this outcome. It may well be that he doesn't live his life in a certain way in terms of maybe he doesn't eat well. I don't know. I never really felt that kind of pressure to the point where it affected my health or my mental well-being.
Until the end.
Well, till the end. Yeah, that was challenging. But notwithstanding it, I look at it and say, any big job comes with pressure. And pressure, the biggest pressure is the one you put upon yourself. And ultimately, I don't tend to look at it from that point of view. I didn't tend to look at the pressure. At the end of my time at Palace, I was under immense pressure. Immense pressure. Yet, my health didn't suffer. My resolve went up a level, which was probably more damaging because I should have quitting whilst you're ahead. It's not the same as quitting sometimes.
Yeah.
But listen, let's hope he makes a full recovery. The fact that he was attended to quickly and the fact they're putting statements out that he's going to make a full recovery is a good thing. People are in pressurized environments. It's surprising what it does to people. But Birmingham are not. They're in good, relatively good nick. If it was under pressure, you would have thought it was when they got relegated a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but as you said, it could be anything. I mean, all the things like this just give you perspective on how.
Yes, exactly.
Football clubs, the passion around supporters, I get, but it's It's football.
It puts things into context.
It really does.
It sure does. We send our very best wishes to Tom Wagner. Hope he has a speedy recovery and is back feeling healthier than ever. A number of messages coming in. Have you ever seen a miss like that last night? And obviously, you know where we're going with this, Danny Simon. Cole Palmer's miss. It seemed easier to score. That's a phrase you often hear in football. But in this occasion, it actually did seem easier.
We've all done it.
For Cole Palmer to score. He had the chance to win the game for Chelsea against Leeds in the 94th minute, but as the ball came across the box, he spooned it over the top from 2 yards out with the goal gaping. This was Liam Rossigna.
Look, he's in the position 999 times out of 1,000 he scores. It was just that 1 in 1,000 moment. I have to say, the last 20 minutes was wave after wave of attack. The lads' energy, considering the amount of games that we played, the belief they show, we create chance after chance. We just didn't quite go in, but we shouldn't be in that position. And we need at 2-0. The game should be done at home. And there are certain things I can show the players, so we make sure that that can't happen again.
That was Liam Rossigna's reaction to Cole Palmer's incredible miss. I heard you say, Danny, we've all done it. I mean, have you?
Yeah.
Where and when, Dan?
I missed from a few yards out home to Sunderland for Liverpool. Ironically, I missed another. That was a header for open goal away at Sunderland for Chart. I've missed a few, actually. Really horrendous chances.
You did it quite regularly?
No. Over 16, 17 years. No, 20 years.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So 2 or 3 that. Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
It's a lapse in it's so easy. It's just a ridiculous lapse in concentration.
Yeah.
And it's one of those you don't sleep after them.
Yeah.
Because you're just crucifying yourself, especially in the context of the game.
Yeah.
If they'd won, it wouldn't matter. You just forget about it. But
he's a confident lad, Cole Palmer. This won't affect him.
No.
He scored a hat-trick on the Saturday. He turns into a pseudo-villain, which he's not. He's missed a sitter, and that happens. And the bigger thing, for a little bit more robustness there from Liam about not being particularly happy about being 2-0 up, and these sort of things shouldn't happen. Fair play to Leeds for getting himself back in the game.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think he can re-establish himself in the England setup, Danny, Cole Palmer, in time for the World Cup?
I think if he stays fit and keeps playing, he'll go. If he has any more setbacks where he's out for a few weeks, the Tuchel's ruthless. There's one thing about Tuchel, he's not going to care about upsetting anyone. He'll do what he thinks is best for the team. He's shown that already. He's Morgan Rogers got his shirt at the moment. Obviously, Bellingham plays that role. And the other thing with Tuchel is he doesn't really, because Palmer sometimes plays on the right for Chelsea, comes off that right-hand side. I don't think Tuchel sees Foden or Palmer as wingers at all, because he plays generally with direct wingers who take people on. He likes pace and dynamism on the sides. So I think he's got to stay fit. Quality-wise, God, yeah. I mean, what's a player? But if he does have another setback, it could be a doubt.
Could you imagine if Tuchel had been your coach when you had that sequence of glaring misses? I mean, who's to say what might have happened?
I don't think coach. You know what, coach? I can't think of a coach that would ever have a go at you for missing a chance. Really.
No,
because most of them didn't play anyway.
You got to get into position.
Most of them didn't play, so you just say, "What are you talking about?"
That's right. Thomas, when did you?
Mark Hughes would
play, Thomas?
Mark Hughes would have a pop at you because he'd do it in jest. He'd have a laugh at you because he'd said he'd say he'd finish it. But most coaches didn't play. I worked under, so they wouldn't.
Exactly. Coaches, what do they know?
Exactly.
What do they play? It's Jim White and Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Did you think that the Super Bowl would get such a thumping up against the Premier League offering of Liverpool, Manchester City? I thought it would be much, much closer. You're talking about a difference of 500 million.
You are. But you're talking about, I mean, I've had this argument with Brian T. Smith, who comes in here, who I very much like, and makes the case that the Champions League final, I'd say, dwarfs the Super Bowl, and he makes his argument about scale. It makes my argument. Of course it makes my argument. But then you have to look back underneath it and say, this is a worldwide global audience that's watching the Premier League, watching arguably the biggest game in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And you've got multitude of broadcast deals around the world for a global sport. Ostensibly, despite inroads into various countries where you've had the NFL on tour and it's made its way into Germany and it's made its way into Poland and it's made its way into the UK, it's a North American sport. And so I'd be fascinated to see, outside of the North American broadcasting numbers, how many of the 220 million people that watched it were outside of North America.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to wager you that well, clearly it's obvious because the population of this country is only 70 million, that 90%, 95% of the people that watched the Premier League game between Liverpool and Man City was around the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And when the NFL gets its act together, which it's trying to do, and makes this a global sport, and makes it a participation sport and a viewing sport in all the four-flung corners of the globe, it'll have numbers that are substantial. And 220 million people watching it, if I'm right in my thinking, 90% of that will be in North America. That's 50% of the population of America.
Here are some of the best off-camera anecdotes from recent years at the Ryder Cup. As caddy Billy Foster went to relieve himself at the Belfry, he noticed only one of the two cubicles had toilet paper. Shortly after he'd sat down, Tiger Woods went into the empty cubicle and realised his mistake all too late. So Foster took some paper, reached under the cubicle with a rescue offering, and as Tiger went to take it, Foster uttered the words, "Europe, one up." Fast forward 10 years to the miraculous Medina. Rory McIlroy overslept and was in danger of missing his Sunday tee time. Thankfully, travel organiser Erica Stoll sorted him a police escort, and 3 years later, McIlroy proposed. Scottish legend Sam Torrance tells many a yarn about the great Ballesteros. Apparently, Seve would regularly give coaching clinics to his European teammates. When the same players asked for help a week later at the Italian Open, Seve would tell them to Having started with a Billy Foster story, let's finish with one from the 12th tee at Oakland Hills in 2004. It was Jimenez and Garcia against Westwood and Clark in a practice round, and as they finished, Foster decided to jump in the buggy and speed away with all their clubs, only to lose control entirely and see it careering towards the spectators. Thankfully, the Red Sea parted and the buggy smashed into a tree, with viewers and clubs still intact.
Wednesday morning. Let's take time out for a second. 2020 World Cup cricket ongoing. It's Ireland against Australia. Let's find out the very latest from Sam Ellard.
Plenty going on, Jim. Australia winning the toss in their first game, batting first. They posted 182 for 6 from their 20 overs, which feels a tad over par. Marcus Stoyan has finished off the innings brilliantly, hitting 45 from just 29. Lots of other Aussie batsmen got starts, but couldn't push on and get a big score. Ireland did very well to keep taking wickets throughout the innings. Inglis made 37, Green 21, Renshaw 37. But some bad news for Ireland with the bat, because Paul Stirling, their captain, their best batsman, has retired retired hurt after just facing one ball. He took a single running towards the non-striker's end and limped off the pitch. So unfortunately for him, he's retired hurt. Ireland 12 without loss from the first over. It's been a busy day so far at the T20 World Cup. Afghanistan beats South Africa in a super over, the second super over. England, West Indies to come at 1:30. But in the Australia-Ireland game, Australia 182 for 6 from their 20 overs. In reply, 1 over gone. Ireland 12 without loss.
OK, Sam, thanks very much indeed. It's time for this.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. GambleAware.org.
And it's good morning to Sean Martin from BetMGM. Sean, hi to you, my friend. Just as we came on air, the news came through to us, as often happens on this show. 10 o'clock, all changed. What do you know? Tottenham Hotspur have sacked Thomas Frank. What about the latest odds regards the Knicks manager?
Morning, lads. Yeah, only one place to start indeed, isn't there? Thomas Frank gone from Tottenham. Jim, you reeled off some of the stats from this season already, and obviously, as you say, attention now turns to his replacement. And on that front, the market has a few early runners and riders for the job. Keen to hear what you make of some of these names. Head of the market is, as you have discussed, Roberto De Zerbi, former Brighton manager, recently of Marseille. Odds on favourite just now, around about 13 to 20. Former Spurs boss Mauricio Pochettino 3 to 1, and then a bit of a fallback to the rest of the field, 10 to 1. Robbie Keane, former Spurs captain, currently at Ferencváros in Hungary, linked with Celtic recently too, of course, as well as Edin Terzic, the ex-Dortmund boss, Ryan Mason at 10 to 1 as well, and Fulham manager Marco Silva there as well at 10 to 1. Palace manager Oliver Glasner, Simon, 14 to 1 for the Spurs job, and Donny Areola to go there from Bournemouth is at 20s. Couple of further outsiders, Xabi Alonso and Xavi Hernandez, both 25s. Julian Nagelsmann, 33s. Jurgen Klopp on there at 40s. Steven Gerrard also at 40s. I know you guys have already expressed some potential doubt about De Zerbi as a fit, maybe not necessarily as a manager, but as a fit. So let me ask you, what names stick out there otherwise of the list I gave you there for the permanent job?
Well, Simon, Oliver Glasner.
Now or as in the summer? Because I think there's a distinct difference between the two. I think Glasner, I said to Daniel in the summer that Glasner was the one I'd go if I was going down his direction of travel. I think he would like to stay in London. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't stay in the English Premier League. He's going to leave Palace unless there's a massive sea change in the situation there. But then you'd be still in the same place, which is, can a manager that manages a smaller club step up to a bigger one? Of course, he's managed Eintracht Frankfurt and he's won competitions with them. But you're still in that same space, and what Spurs fans will want is someone that's used to winning things. Now, of course, he's won an FA Cup, he's won the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt, so he's got some credentials there. If it were me, despite the fact I think his outburst recently at Palace was absurd, I think he's a very good manager. And I mean,
he will push those above him, won't he? As does De Zerbi.
But every manager should push. No one disputes the fact that managers should push. It's the mechanisms that you deploy, the levers that you pull.
On the occasion you're talking about, would you have wrapped Glasner's knuckles?
You don't push with the media. You don't push with... What's the point of doing it in the media? You do it with your boss. You walk into your boss's office and you have it out with him. You bang your fist on the table and you say to him, I'm not being given the support I want. You don't need to do it to the media. You do it to the media because you're creating a completely different dynamic. And how do you expect to retain a relationship with somebody that you're working with if you do that sort of thing?
Yeah. Glasner, Danny?
I'm not sure about that. I think I'd go... The obvious one's Poch in the summer and put an interim in for now. I think Poch is sensible.
Why doubt about Glasner?
Just because of what Simon said. I think although Eintracht Frankfurt is a decent-sized club and he had some success, and I do like him, I think he's a very competent manager. He's done a great job at Palace, but he's also had bad spells while he's been at Palace that wouldn't be accepted while you were at a bigger club, finding his way and not giving results for 2 or 3 months. But it's too big a risk.
Too big a risk. Okay. We shall see in the fullness of time whether it's interim or whether it's a permanent replacement. 11 days from now, their next game is on the horizon and they play Arsenal in the North London derby. What about tonight's Premier League fixtures then, Sean?
So 5 games tonight, 4 7:30pm kickoffs. Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Man City, all favourites at home to Brighton, Burnley and Fulham respectively. But that relegation battle down the bottom is getting very tasty indeed, and in that regard, I think the pick of the 4 half-7 games has to be Nottingham Forest at home to Wolves, guys. You'd have to say absolutely vital for Forest, as a win would push them level on points with Spurs, but more importantly, open up a 5-point gap on West Ham. Wolves without an away win this season, albeit not actually lost at the City Ground in 9 games, which I don't know, I felt was quite surprising. Forest 4 to 6 favourites to pick up the win, and if you wrap the 4 7:30pm favourites into an accumulator, that comes out at 11 to 2. And the reason I haven't added the final game of the evening to that bet is that I'm just not sure about Liverpool away at Sunderland, guys. 8 to 11 favourites, but Sunderland protecting the only unbeaten home record left in the Premier League. Winless in 11 against Liverpool, but Liverpool on a run of 1 in 7 league games and won only 2 of their last 10 away in the Premier League. So I reckon a few might fancy Sunderland at 18 to 5 or the draw at just under 3 to 1. But over and above that, Danny, we've got a couple of Liverpool fans in the office and they were very, very unsure about the lineup tonight, specifically who plays right back with Dominic Szoboszlai suspended, Frimpong, Gomez, Bradley all out. What do you reckon? Is it a case of Robertson, Kerkez both starting, Curtis Jones maybe in there again, or maybe Calvin Ramsey time at last?
I think he'll play Curtis Jones there, to be honest. Yeah. He's done it before. He looks comfortable. He's good enough footballer. He's athletic enough. That would be the more obvious choice, I think. But we'll have to wait and see. It's a huge game for Liverpool. The only good thing about Sunderland's record is it's got to be broken. But do you know what? I can't be confident thinking Liverpool are going to win. I do think they'll edge it just because of the desperation. I mean, they've got to get a result, but you can't be confident with Liverpool at the moment.
If Sunderland win, what kind of expression will we be seeing on the Danny Murphy visage
tonight
on Match of the Day?
I'll try not to, but one of real disappointment and resignation, because the two sides, United and Chelsea, have got some good momentum.
Okay.
If they lose tonight, top Champions League football is becoming difficult. Really.
Right, well, we're going to touch on that, Danny. I'm glad you said that. We'll get to that very shortly. All the games tonight in the Premier League live on the talkSPORT network. Celtic and Rangers also in action tonight then, Sean. What are you thinking in that?
Yeah, as we all know, the most exciting title race in British football.
Now you're talking, Sean.
We are all on the edge of our seats here. Go on.
Well, we are, because Hearts won last night and they keep it going, the Edinburgh Derby.
They did, yeah. I was going to say it almost took a bit of a turn last night. Hearts looked like they might drop points in that Edinburgh Derby against
It's a one-horse race down here. 3 horses in the race up there.
Yeah, in the end.
Are they horses?
You just concentrate on your expression of Match of the Day. You'll have a look of resignation. Sorry. On you go, Sean.
No, just going to say in the end, 88th minute winner puts the Jambos 6 clear of 1 horse Rangers and 9 clear of Celtic, the second horse, and level in terms of the odds with Rangers at 2 to 1 to win the title. Celtic still kind of riding the wave of the Martin O'Neill effect in the market, I think, because they're 13 to 10 favourites despite that gap. 2 games in hand on Hearts though, first of which is tonight at home at Livingston. Livy sitting at 17 to 1 to win it and 7s for a draw. Tells you the state of play with their season. They're bottom, no away wins yet, never won at Parkhead either. So as much as clean sheets have maybe dried up for Celtic recently, Jim, I'm targeting a routine win tonight for me, really. I think you've got to be looking at that. And then probably the game of the night actually in Scotland, Motherwell against Rangers at 8 o'clock. Motherwell, I must say, I can't remember if I've mentioned on here before, but they are the best team I've seen against Celtic this season, bar none. They beat us 2-0 and more to the point, genuinely played us off the park in December. I'm looking for them to do the exact same to Rangers tonight, ideally. The Steelmen have only lost once since the start of November, but that was to Rangers. It's over even money for all 3 outcomes as things stand, lad. Rangers marginal favourites at just over evens. Motherwell to win 47 to 20 and the draw the exact same odds. Big one in the title race up here tonight, Jim, and especially so since Rangers, that horse Danny mentioned, then host Hearts at their stable at Ibrox at the weekend too.
I love what you did there, Sean. Love what you did at their stable.
I am told by somebody, just a little message, that Endo could probably play right back, so I don't know if that pleases your Liverpool fans in the office.
Oh, you're talking about Liverpool again? Yeah. We were talking about the Premier League in Scotland.
I know, but I want to get people interested again.
Oh, I see that. Thank you very much indeed. Sean, well done, and thank you so much for joining us. Remember, visit betmgm.co.uk, download the app, 18+, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
big statement here, but I think that might just be the worst refereeing or VAR decision we've ever had.
No, it's not. It's not.
How can you say it's a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity when Man City scored?
Because Haaland dragged down Slobosai.
Yeah, but Szoboszlai dragged Haaland.
Yeah.
Haaland dragged Szoboszlai, which is something we see all the time.
No, you don't. Not like that. Not two separate incidences.
So, okay, so you give one.
Yeah.
But then you've also got to give the other because there was two incidents. So then how can you give both?
So he played advantage, and then Haaland's in the advantage. He does foul Szoboszlai. You mean you can't get away from it?
It's the decision is right. It's the right call. And
it's not. Listen, by the laws of the game, it's the right call.
Yeah, it's the right call.
And that's why you can't say it's the worst decision ever.
No, it's definitely not. That's
because
just
the
rubbish.
referee, by the letter of the law, gets the decision right, in terms of the laws of the game. Do I agree with it? No, I think it's ridiculous. I think there needs to be some sort of common sense law brought into the game where that you just let go, right? You just let that slide. You just let it go.
Two fouls don't mean a right.
No, I know, but
you can't have. No, I know, but you can't have Slobosai dragging Haaland back. By the way, Haaland should score, and then you can't have Haaland dragging back Slobosai.
Yeah.
If you remember, right, if you look back at it, Slobosai's looking for the free kick. He's gone to the referee on his knees like that.
Yeah.
As if to say, "Where's the free kick?"
Let's head back to the T20 World Cup. Ireland up against Australia. Here's Sam.
And Ireland have got it all to do, Jim. Australia batting first, 182 for 6 from their 20 overs. Marcus Stoyan has finished innings off beautifully with a nice cameo, hitting 45. But Ireland with the bat off to the worst possible start. 4 overs gone, 27 for 3. Matt Kuhneman taking the first wicket, getting Tector for a duck. And then Nathan Ellis bowled a brilliant third over, getting 2 wickets in 3 balls. He bowled a dare with a brilliant slower ball. And then he got Camphor for 4 runs when he pulled a shorter ball to short mid-wicket. 3 wickets down, and the worst possible news maybe isn't those wickets. It's Paul Sterling, their opening bat, their captain, their best batsman, retiring her after facing just 1 ball. He could return later on in the innings, and let's hope he can, because Ireland are going to need some of his runs. They're chasing 183 for victory against Australia. 4 overs gone, Ireland 27 for 3.
Sam, thank you very much indeed. We're going to talk with Danny in our midst about Liverpool going to Sunderland tonight. Just a reminder, Manchester City against Fulham tonight, Aston Villa against Brighton, Palace against Burnley, Forest against Wolves, Sunderland, Liverpool, and you can download the talkSPORT app and swipe between all of them, so you will not miss a trick right across the talkSPORT network. Liverpool travel to Sunderland tonight is live in talkSPORT, as I just mentioned. They've got a fight in their hands to secure Champions League football. They can achieve it by either winning this season's Champions League or finishing top 4 in the league. But finishing 5th, they may also end up being enough this year because of England's coefficient. But in his 8 full seasons, when you look at it, Jurgen Klopp always qualified for the Champions League, bar 1 year, 22-23, when they finished 5th. And it's that 1 year out that Slot talked about yesterday, going into this game tonight at Sunderland.
If we don't have Champions League football, it's definitely not been an acceptable season. This is what I said. When I arrived here, we could only sign Federico Chiesa, and that was after a Europa League season. So that does have an enormous impact in the way this club is run. So that is clear. Yeah, we are completely aware. I'm completely aware of that.
Didn't sound anyone apart from Chiesa last summer, Danny, and that was forced upon him.
Yeah, but I focus more on him saying it's unacceptable. That's the key phrase. He acknowledges that and he knows the job. Like that is great to hear. No excuses, no hiding. It's unacceptable if Liverpool aren't in the Champions League.
And so it should be.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if they're not in the Champions League next year, they'll probably pay the price. But they've still got the chance to have a wonderful season. You don't have to be the best team to win the Champions League. We've seen it time and time again. Liverpool, depending on the draw, Anfield factor, they're capable. They can win it. Not favourites, granted, but they can.
You're telling us they can win the Champions League?
Of course they can. So can 6 other teams. That's the reality.
On the current form?
Yeah. Not on current form. You wouldn't say they could, but you wouldn't expect them to roll over Real Madrid when they were playing awful when they turned up at Anfield, would you? You know, you wouldn't expect them to go to Marseille and play as well as they did with Marseille's home record. It's.
You wouldn't expect them to lose 4-1 at home to PSV.
No, you wouldn't. That's a damn good point, Jim. And this is the inconsistency we've got. But yeah, we'll see. I think their better bet is getting some results in the league and trying to nick the 5th or 4th spot ahead of Chelsea or Man U.
I mean, Simon, I said in that introduction, if Klopp could survive a season without Champions League qualification, can Slot?
Well, Klopp delivered something to Liverpool that they had never been delivered, which was the Premier League title. So prior to that, indiscretion of not getting into the Premier League, into the Champions League, he had given Liverpool fans he'd reconnected the club back with its fans in a way that potentially previous managers hadn't done for some time.
But also, it's not just winning the title; it was also being in a title race near most seasons with City head-to-head, and also 3 Champions League finals. 3 Champions League finals is some going.
So what Slot achieved last season, how much does that count for?
A lot. Yeah, that's why he's got the backing. That's why he's got the backing now. But if they do, as I said before, and he knows, you can tell he knows it. If they don't get in the Champions League next year, I don't think they'll keep him.
Well, that's it. That is the feeling, Simon, isn't it? That if he doesn't qualify for the Champions League next season, sorry, Arnie, but you're out.
I might be wrong.
I don't know what the Liverpool hierarchy's feeling is. I mean, none of us know because none of us are sitting amongst them.
No.
I mean, what we're talking about is background noise, and only Arnie Slot and the Liverpool board know that if the currency he got for winning the Premier League last year with ostensibly someone else's team is good enough to carry him through a disappointing season. That disappointing season has manifested itself in a series of outcomes, like the departure of Isak to injury after having spent an inordinate amount of time getting him. People will criticise them for not getting Mark Guehi and allowing Man City to steal through the door. But notwithstanding that, there's no God, despite Liverpool's history and legacy and the achievements of the football, there's no God-given right for them to be in the Champions League. But yes, I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. And I go with Danny. The takeaway from what I heard him was it's unacceptable. Or, it's not where I would expect ourselves to be. There's still many a slip twixt cup and lip. I don't think Liverpool will get in the Champions League qualifiers.
You don't?
No, I don't think they will. I think the sides that are there, unless Aston Villa fall off a cliff, I think Chelsea will stay where they are, there and thereabouts. I think Man United possibly may stay where they are, there and thereabouts. So Liverpool have got to really shift. And the interesting thing about, I know you made the PSV example of how they got battered by PSV. That was right in the middle of their malaise. Right in the middle of where they really were stutter-stepping left, right and centre. They've got themselves together a little bit now. So I think that they can do well in the European competition. I think it's perfectly plausible for Liverpool to win the Champions League.
But has he righted it? Have they got themselves together again? Even you doubt, with any great degree of certainty, Danny, that they'll go to Sunderland tonight and get something.
Well, they're definitely better. The form tells you that. They're not losing games as often. They're picking up more points. I mean, the run they went on was disastrous. Nobody saw that coming. And then they pulled themselves together and went on a decent run without losing a game, but drawing too many. The problem is with Liverpool at the moment is that within the same 90 minutes, you can see a brilliant part in the game and then a game where they're vulnerable and they look open.
Yeah.
And we never saw that the whole of last season from a defensive point of view. So what's happening is teams are playing Liverpool now and the fear factor's gone a bit. So you're seeing this kind of, a lot of the games are end-to-end, a lot of the games are one good half, one bad half. I mean, the City game was a great example.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I mean, City are a great opposition, of course, with high-quality players.
No, but it's a good example.
It is.
And Slot was asked going into this game tonight in the North East if this was his toughest time in charge of Liverpool.
Yeah, that's fair to say. By a mile. Because all the other seasons I've managed, that there was only positives. There was never... Don't think I've ever lost two games in a row. So, it's an exception this season for me as it is for the players. The players are not used to losing a lot or having a lot of draws. I'm not used to that as well. And it's always more of a challenge after you lose a game of football to get them going again than after a win, tell them that we were not as good as they might think they are. So this season has been more challenging for me as well.
So it's uncharted territory for him and the team, isn't it?
Yeah, but what do really good leaders do is they learn from when they face adversity and handle situations and they come through it. And I'm sure he has learned a lot about not just himself, the players he's got around him, who he can rely on. He's tweaked formations at times, which I like, trying to find a way, trying to find a balance, trying to find a resolve in the team when they're struggling. So he's got the capabilities, or he's got the opportunity, I should say, from now till the end of the season to still cement his position, create a good season. You know, they're still in the FA Cup, Champions League, as we were just talking about. You know, Liverpool to win the Champions League, can you imagine? I mean, everything will be forgotten. All the bad stuff's gone.
Yeah.
That's a league and a Champions League in your first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Stay as long as he wants then. And this is the fickleness of football, whether it's management, whether you're a player. It's just fine. It's small moments, small details. Things can go for you or against you just at a critical time. But there's still a lot of positive. There could still be a lot of positive.
Do they win tonight?
I think they do.
Simon?
Yeah, I got a feeling they will. I think Sunderland have done remarkably well, but someone's going to break this duck at the Stadium of Lights. And I think there's a distinct possibility there might be a rebound from Liverpool post the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, Sunderland, Liverpool tonight, and it's a talkSPORT exclusive. It's 12 noon.
I don't see. I look at Arsenal and I've watched all the games because I'm waiting for them to slip up, and they can just change it. They can bring 5 players off the bench who should have started, and I think it's look. As much as none of us want Arsenal to win it, we just have to accept that it's their year, and they've been building it for 5 years, and it's their time. Yeah. And it's not because I think Arsenal are particularly great. This Arsenal side won't go down as a great Premier League team. They won't even be in the top 10. Right, it's because the chasing pack are not good enough. You know, Chelsea are not ready. Liverpool, and what's happened to them? City, I'm amazed we're second, if I'm being honest.
Just going back to, you mentioned the Carabao Cup final. Is that round about the 11th or 12th?
That final is before you play them at the Etihad, right? In the league.
Well, look, this is the dream scenario. Is we beat Fulham on Wednesday and we get it to 3 points, and somehow Arsenal slip up, and then we're 3 points behind them when we get to Wembley and we beat them.
Yeah.
Now, if that happens, right, that throws a grenade into it all, and it energises City, and Arsenal fans will start panicking. But I got to say, I just do not see Arsenal dropping points. They never, they had their back four out for a month and never conceded a shot. Now,
the only thing
listen, no, but I've seen championship winning teams, right, at City. I've seen all 8 of them, whatever it is we've won. This isn't one. This is not one.
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 12:02, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. Who does Spurs turn to now? Thomas Frank's been sacked as the club flirts with relegation. Here's our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook.
An interim manager, a Ryan Mason type, until the end of the season, when, like Manchester United, maybe there'll be a bigger pool for Tottenham to choose from. Maybe Mauricio Pochettino, who the fans were singing for last night, would be open to a return then.
We're told the newly available Roberto De Zerbi would be interested. Simon Jordan's not so sure.
Have some fun with him. The fact that he doesn't want to work for Daniel Levy or doesn't want to work for Paratici, but will work for this group, don't have the qualifications or any of the attributes that I think that will make Tottenham into the thing that they said that they want to make, but have been running it behind the scenes for 25 years. We'll see.
More on this breaking story at talksport.com. Now, Ali McCoy thinks expanding the Championship playoff places to 6 teams is just a money grab. He says, leave it as it is.
I'm with Gabby. I mean, it's madness. You can make an argument that a team could finish third on 70 points and the team at 6 on 50 goes up and things like that. So
imagine the team in 8th.
Exactly.
EFL clubs are expected to vote in favour. It would come in next season. And at the T20 World Cup, Ireland are chasing 183 to beat Australia. How are they getting on, Sam Ellard?
Yeah, Ireland has suffered an early collapse in response to Australia's 182. Ireland 40 for 4 after 6. Kuhneman struck first, and then Nathan Ellis with 3 wickets in his first 2 overs. He's shown his full range of cutters and slower balls. And Ireland have also lost captain Paul Sterling to injury in the very first ball of the reply. So Tucker and Delaney at the crease with a lot of work to do. Ireland 40 for 4 after 6, chasing 183.
Thank you, Sam. England play the West Indies this afternoon. For more, head to talkSPORT's Cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
The government's thinking of bolstering security in schools after a double stabbing in London. And the rain might be clearing up, but a cold spell is on the way. More from the news team at 30:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, where we've got more premium tyres than the number of times you'll hear, "Ooh, it's a bit nippy this winter." Book today at quickfit.com.
Staying largely cloudy with outbreaks of rain for most of us. In the north, windy and cold, feeling mild in the south.
Good afternoon, everybody. 4 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. If you haven't heard, where have you been? Just at 10 o'clock or so, Tottenham Hotspur announced that they were sacking Thomas Frank as manager. So Frank has gone. Who's in next? Roberto De Zerbi seems to be the name in the frame, but we'll see if that comes to light. In about half an hour, you're going to hear from a very special young man who I met up at Covent Garden here in London last night. 22-year-old Craig Ferguson is his name. He's a Scotland fan, and he's not flying to the World Cup in the USA. Oh, no. He's going to go some way over there by plane. Of course he is. We all have to. But then he's going to walk the rest. And when I say walk the rest, it's jaw-dropping what he's going to do in aid of Scottish Action for Mental Health. It is amazing. You're going to be hearing from Craig at about 30:30 the hour. In the meantime, And I'm keen to get Simon's view of this because it centres on someone Simon and I both know well, Preston North End director Peter Ridsdale. It's reported that EFL clubs will take a vote next month on expanding the Championship playoffs from 4 to 6 teams. If voted through, the new playoff format would begin next season. Currently, third place 6th and fourth place 5th in a two-legged semi-final. And then the winner, of course, competes in the playoff final at Wembley. The EFL's new proposal would add an eliminator round to the Championship playoffs. Now, third and fourth go into the semi-finals. It's 5th versus 8th, and 6th versus 7th, who would face off in one-leg ties with home advantage to the club, which finishes higher. So the chart at all of that is 8th would actually give you a chance of still being promoted to the Premier League. So, first and foremost, when I spoke to Peter Ridsdale, Preston director, who's driving this forward, I said to him, why is there any need whatsoever for the playoff system, which everyone seems to love, to be further shaken up?
The issue we've got is that we believe that the Championship is probably the most competitive of the English divisions. You just have to look at the league table at the moment, where you've got something like 5 points separating 6th and 15th in the table. You've got a situation where the prize for getting promoted to the Premier League is now worth £200 million between 1 year in the Prem and then if you get relegated, the parachute payments. And we've got owners who are putting in £15 to £20 million just to try and compete. So we believe that if you could actually have the league even more competitive towards the end of the season, when people can have the prize of getting into the playoffs by coming down to 8th, TV rights, media rights, investors and owners putting in more money, I think it makes sense. Now, ultimately, of course, who gets promoted will be determined by the outcome of the playoffs. But the playoffs of the last, I think, 7 years, 5 of the people who've won the playoffs are still, 5 of the last 7 years are still in the Premier League. And of those, only 2 finished third in the division. So, we think it's exciting. We think it helps media rights, it helps competition, and it reassures owners who are putting a lot of money to try and get the prize of playoffs and or promotion.
How long have you been consulting on this, Peter? What's been the reaction to it?
It was brought up in the autumn at an EFL board meeting. I was then asked to put it to the Championship clubs because I chair the Championship meetings after the board meetings. That got a very positive thumbs up. We then put our proposals and thoughts to the FA, and I think they consulted the Premier League, and we got back from the FA that they would be supportive. So it's now going to a vote of the clubs at the annual meeting the first week in March. Maybe no coincidence, Peter. You're 7th at the moment. It would suit you, wouldn't it? Well, I'd like to be higher by the end of the season, but I heard this morning on one of the early programmes on talkSPORT that they were suggesting that why does it need a change at all? People forget. I've been around long enough to remember the first playoffs in 1987, and in those days the third bottom of the top flight was part of the playoffs, with then the third, fourth, and fifth and the second tier. So it's been shaken up before. The National League have obviously got a different format already, and I think that to give 2 more teams an opportunity to participate, they would then be in a quarter-final where they played away from home in the first game, so there wouldn't be 2 legs. So the 8th team would play the 5th, and the 7th team would play the 6th, and then it would drop into the normal format like now. It can only be for the good of the game. It's more exciting. More games matter towards the end of the season. And if the Premier League turn around and say it makes it less competitive, just look at, say, the last 7 seasons. 5 of the playoff winners are still there. And in fact, if you look at the league table in the Premier League today, the highest ranked promoted team is Sunderland, who won the playoffs. There are those, though, Peter, and you know where I'm going with this, who could suggest that potentially this is about awarding mediocrity. I mean, 8th could end up in the Premier League. 8th could. They may, and if they do it on merit on the playoff format. But, when you say it's rewarding mediocrity, just watch the Championship week in, week out. Look at the game at Leicester last night. Leicester winning 3-0 at half-time and Southampton beat them 4-3. There isn't a game in the Championship you can predict ahead of the game. It's the most competitive division there is. And I would argue on that basis it deserves an opportunity to get to the end of the season and see who can win the playoff format. Peter, what does this need to get the green light? Who votes in it? What now? Well, my understanding is it needs a simple majority of the 72 EFL clubs. So that's obviously the Championship, then Leagues 1 and League 2. I don't know what the outcome will be. It's something I put to the Championship clubs, and it's now going to a full vote of the EFL. So it's up to the clubs to decide. This isn't a personal proposal. This is an EFL proposal, which is going to EFL clubs, and it will be the EFL clubs who vote on it.
So that was Peter Ridsdale, Preston North End director. Simon, where's your take on this? I mean, I could hear you reacting in the background to it. Will it not weaken the Premier League if 8th in the Championship can get you to the Premier League?
None of the Premier League's business. It's an EFL.
No, but that's not the question.
Well, why would it? So someone who finishes 1 or 2 points behind 6th spot is going to weaken the Premier League. The Premier League can wipe out their own concern.
It could be 12 points behind them, couldn't they?
Well, they could, but historically...
But we can see the gap already.
Well, yes, and we can see teams like Sunderland gone up and created outcomes that defy the logic of what people... When you're put in a situation, by the way, about coming up from the Championship, and you have to carry the losses from the Championship, and you're only allowed to make a certain amount of losses when you get in the Premier League. How about levelling those playing fields up a little bit, so that when Nottingham Forest went up a few years ago and got sanctioned for breaching financial fair play because they were only allowed to carry the less losses from the Championship, as opposed to the Premier League sides that are already there getting far greater losses and far greater bandwidth? How about sorting that one out first before you start worrying about which teams come up from a league that's got nothing to do with you? As far as this idea was concerned, this was my chief executive's idea, Phil Alexander, from 20 years ago. We flew this kite 20 years ago, and Phil came to me and said, look, I think there's an opportunity to create more jeopardy in this division, to create more broadcast revenue, to create more longevity in the season with teams having more to play for and more consequences towards the back end of the season if we actually increase the size of the playoffs. I said,
so what happened?
I said, fill your boots, go present it to the EFL board. They put it to the EFL board, they didn't want to do it. Now, 20 years forward, maybe they do. The fact of the matter is, the only test for this, the only acid test for this, if 24 clubs vote for it, it's the end of the discussion.
What does it have to be? How many?
They've got to get a quorum.
A simple majority.
Yeah, whatever the majority is.
Yeah,
I think they'll go for it.
72, a simple majority.
I think they'll go for it.
I mean, what are the downsides to it? I mean, if you finish 6th and 5th, you're not going to like having to play another game.
No, but you still have the advantage of playing at home, don't you?
Sure you do, but you're still not going to like it because you're in a different set. So, you're now going to have to play an extra game to get into a situation that you're already in. But there's 18 teams in that league that will think they can get 7th and 8th spots at times during the course of the season. And so with that in mind, it expands the league, it increases the broadcast opportunity. What the clubs will do is go, a very simple equation, does it bring us more money? If it brings us more money for opportunities and creates greater interest in this league and greater broadcasting opportunities and greater intrigue, we'll do it.
Yeah, but 20 years ago when it was your idea, would it have brought you more money? And if so, why didn't they support it and see it through?
Because people at that time had a different view. I mean, 20 years ago, I was sitting in rooms with people arguing about the fact the Football League had no money. And we couldn't borrow. If anyone wanted to borrow any money, you can only go to a high street bank. All the high street banks were closed. They were in the middle of a banking crisis. We need to open up the financial landscape. Well, actually, we want to talk about the referee's underpants. Oh, wonderful. That's wonderful. That's a really great discussion. Real meaningful stuff, right? And so now what you've got is a commercially different set of mindsets inside. Look at the scale of people inside the Championship now. Look at who runs these football clubs. There's reasons why the Premier League don't like giving them any more money. It's because there's billionaires sitting in this division and go, why have I got to give them some of the distribution from the Premier League when you've got billionaires down there that can fund their own football clubs? You've got movie stars that are selling shares in Wrexham for 500 million quid worth. So look at the scale of intellectual thinking and the scale of business and the opportunity that now exists inside the Championship. And 20 years ago, the thinking was different. There was a different sort of leadership.
Got a good chance now.
Well, if they vote for it, yeah.
But Simon, there's Leon, the Leicester fan. Expanding the playoffs is ridiculous.
He wants to worry about League One.
It's going to water down the quality of teams that could get into the Premier League. This is just greedy owners who want money now. Do
you know the other thing?
Don't worry about it because he'll be in League One. But the fact of the matter is that greedy owners to do what? Go and point me to which one of these bleeding football clubs are making any money. Because at the end of the day, the reasons why you need more money is because you've got to pay the core product, which is the players, the money to be able to create the outcomes. And somewhere down the line, if you're very lucky, you might be able to sell your football club and make a profit. But between then and then, you're going to be bankrolling a football club because 95% of football clubs in the EFL lose money. So where does this greedy owners load of old cobblers come from?
Also, if you take it away from the business element and you look at it purely from a football, if you're a player or a supporter, then
I think the playoffs are a wonderful
thing. It's a win-win because the players are more engaged to try and nick that seventh and eighth space it'd be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden you've got a fan base that could be engaged for the last 2 months of the season that wasn't.
This will also appeal to the American owners because if you look at the MLS construct and how their competition plays, there are so many places available at the end of the season to get into a various opportunity.
Yeah.
It's about 8 or 9 of the teams still have a chance to get in the playoffs with 2 games to go.
So the World Cup playoffs work this way, Jim.
Yeah, it might be brought in next season. If it was to be brought in now, the 2 clubs looking at 7th and 8th would have been Preston, Peter Ridsdale,
won't bring it now, will they?
and Bristol. No, of course not. It'd be next season. So we shall see. We shall see. Is it evolution, or if it ain't broke, why fix it? How would you vote? We'll see how they vote, because the vote is going to take place fairly soon across all 72 EFL clubs. We shall wait with interest to see how that goes. What colour were the referees' underpants?
God knows. Probably the same colour as mine after I sat down with Jonty Wilders.
Very good. Knockout, in fact. It's 12:15.
My view of punditry is when I listen to a pundit, whoever that pundit might be, whatever they may be, whether it's male, female, black, white, yellow, green, it's do I learn something from them? Do they engage me? Do I find them interesting and entertaining? And do they merit my attention? And that's my response to the reasons why I was saying the things I said.
He's sitting right beside you.
Yeah, I you know, it's an opinion, isn't it? Which we're all entitled to. I put value on opinions. Right, you have to, because there's, you know, everybody has them, right? So I'm not going to listen to a mob on X who've never, ever put themselves in any situation to do anything close to what I've done in my career. I listen to the professionals, right? I listen to the people who've hired me for the last 11 years around the world, the biggest broadcasters in the world. By default, if I'm working with the people who are considered the brilliant broadcasters, then if I'm in the same team as them, next to them, then by default, I'm considered also a brilliant broadcaster. So I take everything you're saying, but the reality is I've been good enough for 11 years, right? And as I said, I'm the person that will go and seek out feedback for someone to go, I think you're struggling. It's never happened.
See, the language that you use, Annie, is, to me, it's steeped in a sense of entitlement. I mean, the sheer weight of the entitlement that you seem to believe that you have would resink the Titanic. I think you've been quite fortuitous. I think because of initiatives like DEI, they've allowed people to be put into positions in the men's game that I don't think they've merited. And now that sort of seeds an attitude that you become a stalwart in the women's game.
Just on these proposed changes to the playoff setup to get you up from the Championship to the Premier League. Really good message there from a Spurs fan. Didn't leave me his name. So this sounds good to me, because if Spurs get relegated this season and we're 8th in the Championship next season, we might well get back up. Well, that's one way of looking at it. Let's look at this, Danny. In the era of VAR, why are players still choosing to cheat? And they are. 2 bookings for simulation in one game last night. Spurs' Pape Sarr and Xavi Simons both booked for simulation. What is simulation? Simulation equals feigning injury. If you're adjudged by the official to feigned injury, you get booked. It's looked upon as diving. It's understood simulation was one of the focuses of pre-season meetings when players met up with match officials. Now, Danny, the PGMO made it clear that they'd crack down on this, and they are. There have been 18 bookings for simulation this season compared with 7 at the same stage last season. But as I said in the introduction, VAR is here. You don't get away with it. So why are they still doing it?
I don't know. I think he's just trying to get an advantage by any which way you can, and they're so used to doing it that they can't stop. I mean, it's not just diving, it's also, you know, when you see situations where players try and get other players sent off when there is contact, but it's minimal, and we've seen loads of different things, people rolling around or people holding the face when they've been hit in the chest. I don't know. I've never been that guy, so I find it really bizarre how your mind takes you there, because I was always brought up about not, showing some resilience, not showing pain, even if someone does get you. I've never thought about diving. Maybe it's a generational thing. I'm all for them hammering it, continually hammering it, and even more. What did they say, 18? There could have been 80.
Yeah, 18 bookings.
No, there could have been 80, so go harder on it. I'd be if it's definite simulation, red card. Forget yellow. Go red.
But it's an age-old problem, isn't it? It's gone on forever.
It's gone on for too long, yeah.
It's gone on for too long.
This is
you're one of those who would stand over a player who's mortally wounded and say, "Get up."
Yes.
As we see a lot.
Not so politely, yeah.
Not so. I
remember missing a Merseyside derby because I got a 5th booking because someone did me, dived, and the ref didn't. There was no VAR then, obviously. That was, he got it. Because it's not me, and I don't like seeing it. I don't think you should be trying to win. People say that it's because, the game's changed, you just got to accept it now, but you don't. The PGMOL has a great opportunity to do better on this. I think they've got more scope. With VAR now, you can catch everyone out.
Mm.
You can catch every dive out.
Yeah. I saw the Simons incident last night, Simon. You
didn't see it, to be fair.
It's almost laughable. The distance between him and the other player, to suggest there was any contact whatsoever, is an absolute nonsense. And down he goes and is booked for it. And you think there and then a player at that level would learn there and then never to do it again.
You think he will.
Because he's embarrassed himself.
Well, they will. I mean, listen, I don't think that comes into their minds about the embarrassment factor. You can go back to Fanny Lee diving left, right and centre back in the early 70s. It's a stable diet of what footballers have done. It's old habits die hard. It's been institutionalised into their thinking that you buy penalties, you buy circumstances, you get outcomes, you do whatever you can. Why do players still pull the shirts off one another? Even though that we know that is something that people are focusing on at corners. Why do they still do it? Because it's what they've done forever and a day. And the only way you change habits is by to enforce them and then mean it. And you don't step back. You go hardest on things so you concentrate people's minds. We had the situations surrounding dissent a couple of years ago. But what happens then is that rather than the football fraternity supporting this initiative, what you'll have is managers come out and complain about it. You'll have managers talking about the lack of awareness of a referee and understanding the reasons why that player went over like that, and actually there was some justification for it. And rather than
he was travelling fast,
and rather than the football fraternity saying it's a blot on our landscape, it's something that we want eliminated from the game, they're silent about it. And when the referees come up and have the audacity to say, right, this is the blot on the landscape, we believe that simulation is a major plague on our house, so we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to mean it in the same way that we believe that dissent is a blot on the landscape and a plague on our house, and we're going to flash cards left, right and centre at players that choose to answer back. The managers didn't like it. They were on the side of the players instantaneously. So you've got to have some buy-in from people. You've got to have people on the training ground, and the managers. It must come from a manager. You must say to a player, I really don't want you doing that. I mean, look, I want to get games won, and I want to seek advantages wherever we can get them.
Yeah, but not like that.
But they don't say that because that's not what they think, because they themselves were players that did it themselves. So with due respect to it, you either mean that you want to change it, and that's that you've got to have the strength of character from the refereeing fraternity to go, don't care about you football mafia and what you think. this is what we're going to do. We're going to rid the game of this problem, and we're going to do it this way. So it's really simple. Don't do it, no problem. Do it, problem.
We've spent God knows how long, me included, pointing out the negativities of VAR and the things we don't like. But you've got to accept that this is.
Oh, this will catch you.
This is great. A great use of VAR.
Yeah.
And something that if VAR's staying, which we know it is, should be utilised more.
But enforce it. But it's like so much of the game. They make things up as they go along. When did it become that every single time a player falls over, that the game's got to be stopped? Who decided that rule? The players decided that rule. It was a head injury. Now it's basically if you stub your toe, the game's got to be stopped. And if you don't stop, the crowd are up. The players on the opposition that have got a player down are offended, mortally offended. When actually the rule is a head injury. And the authorities have got to mean what they say and say what they mean. If they want rid of it, they want simulation to stop because it's conning referees as well, creating more pressure on referees. This is a way to do it, but you've got to be consistent, you've got to be bold, you've got to miss none of them, and you've got to ante up on the consequence.
Were you not asked to join, or did you join an FA panel back in 2017-18 to outlaw diving?
I did. I got asked probably.
So what was that about?
So you'd get sent a video on a Monday morning of an incident, so 3 ex-players would look at it, and if it was unanimous, then they'd retrospectively punish that person, yeah.
And did they do that?
Yeah.
Did it work?
Well, I mean, yes, but did it? I don't know where it's gone.
How many times did you do it?
3.
And did you come out every time in favour of the player simulating?
Yeah.
You went hard on it, and you were like, "That is what it is, and that's what I'm going to call
all
it."
The incidents I was involved in were pretty damn obvious, and they all got banned.
Well, that seems like a good idea, but then it's dropped off. We don't know if it still goes on.
No, it's supposed to be, yeah.
Does a player, Danny, bother about getting done for simulation?
It still goes on.
Does it get to a player when he's gone down mortally wounded or been caught, yellow card for simulation? Does that player bother?
I think it varies from player to player. Some will learn from it and not do it as much. I actually was talking about Bruno Fernandes and obviously how well he's playing, but I think he's toned down his histrionics and his over-the-top diving around, thinking he's injured when he's had a tap on the ankle. Do you know? He's toned all that down.
Yeah. Did you ever tell a teammate, don't do it? No names, no patro, but who did you tell?
Recall.
No?
I think Jufy had a few times he got told.
El Hajju.
He used to go down a bit too easily, but...
Yeah.
There's a different... See, the thing is, Jim, it's not just about a blatant dive. When you see somebody go up for a header and they hold their face on the floor and you could see they got an elbow in their shoulder, that's the same thing.
Yes.
You're trying to stitch someone up to get him sent off so you have an advantage.
Yeah.
And if it's obvious, bam, same for him as well.
Yeah.
You go, what are you holding your face for when you've been hit in the chest? That happens we see it most weeks, don't we?
Mm.
That type of thing is the same thing.
Is it true that Chris sent in a message saying the game's a lot quicker now, so we're seeing more of these instances? Would that be true?
What, there's players quicker than Thierry Henry?
Well,
there's players quicker than Michael Owen.
Well, in any case, 18 bookings so far for simulation this season compared to 7 at the same stage of last season. Let's mount some kind of campaign and get rid of simulation at all levels in football. It's 12:30.
Romero does what he does. Right, ridiculous tackle. Thomas Frank cannot be blamed for that loss at Man United. Now, he can be blamed for leaving the armband with him or not getting in his head to behave better or control his emotion. That's partly the manager's job. But for Romero to do that after the ridiculous social media stuff, which I still don't understand. You know, what the hell? He should have been fined 2 weeks' wages for that and probably dropped from if they had more players fit and left if they had Danso fit. Well, just right. Because what is he actually saying there? If he's saying to the hierarchy, we haven't got enough players. I mean, is he absolutely stupid? I mean, forwards, Muani, Richarlison, Odebear, Solanke, Madison, Simons, Kudos, Kulusevski, Tell. Forget if you think they're good enough. There's loads of players. Midfield, Sarr, Gallagher, Bergvall, Gray, Bentancur, Paulinho. Now, they've got more forward options than any other team in the Prem. So what's he saying? Now, if he'd have come out and gone articulately, I think we've got to have a look at the medical stuff. Or the coaching. Something's not right. The pitches. We can't have that many players injured. Something's not right here. Something's got to be looked at. Someone upstairs has got to look at what's going on with all these injured players. How can we have that many injured players? That's ridiculous. I'd go, strong, you know, but maybe he's got a point. His point, there's no substance to the out.
There's no intelligence with it, is there?
No, because they've got more players. They've got more options in forward play. They've got, I've just named 9. It's
Here are some of the best off-camera anecdotes from recent years at the Ryder Cup. As caddy Billy Foster went to relieve himself at the Belfry, he noticed only one of the 2 cubicles had toilet paper. Shortly after he'd sat down, Tiger Woods went into the empty cubicle and realised his mistake all too late. So Foster took some paper, reached under the cubicle with a rescue offering, and as Tiger went to take it, Foster uttered the words, "Europe, one up." Fast forward 10 years to the miraculous Medina. Rory McIlroy overslept and was in danger of missing his Sunday tea time. Thankfully, travel organiser Erica Stoll sorted him a police escort. And 3 years later, McIlroy proposed. Scottish legend Sam Torrance tells many a yarn about the great Ballesteros. Apparently, Seve would regularly give coaching clinics to his European teammates. When the same players asked for help a week later at the Italian Open, Seve would tell them to... Having started with a Billy Foster story, let's finish with one from the 12th tee at Oakland Hills in 2004. It was Jimenez and Garcia against Westwood and Clark in a practice round, and as they finished, Foster decided to jump in the buggy and speed away with all their clubs, only to lose control entirely and see it careering towards the spectators. Thankfully, the Red Sea parted and the buggy smashed into a tree, with viewers and clubs still intact.
Seems a long time ago now, but just at the back of 10 o'clock, the news came through to us this morning that Tottenham had made a big decision, and the decision was to sack Thomas Frank. In a statement, they say results and performances have led the board to conclude that a change at this point in the season is necessary. So Thomas Frank has gone. 11 days now between now and Tottenham's next fixture, which is against North London rivals Arsenal. So we'll see what happens with that. So the countdown to the World Cup in the USA is well and truly on. And one Scotland fan sets off in a few days' time. But why is he heading there so early? Well, when 22-year-old Craig Ferguson lands in the USA, he will then walk, yes, walk, 3,000 miles from Los Angeles to Boston to get there in time for Scotland's World Cup opening group game against Haiti on June the 14th. It's all in aid of Scottish Action for Mental Health. And Craig hopes to raise £1 million for that organisation. He's a special young man. I caught up with him last night and he explained more.
It is a little bit crazy. I'm attempting to walk over 3,000 miles across the entire length of the United States of America, hopefully to get there in time for Scotland's first World Cup match in 28 years. But the reason why I'm doing it is a lot deeper than that. It's not just, a fun challenge to get there in time for the World Cup. I'm doing all this in a bid to raise as much money as possible for Sam H, Scottish Action for Mental Health. So it's for mental health causes, and I think that along the way in these challenges I have learned that if it's not someone personally, they know someone that's been affected by mental health. Every single person has a story with it, and I think that's what's really, really important to me. I've had, my own personal stories where people close to me have sadly lost their lives, and close friends, and I want to do these challenges almost as a thank you to every single one of them along the way and show them that, there is some crazy Scotsman willing to walk over 3,000 miles to showcase to people that they're not in this alone.
So that's the serious part. The hard work is about to start. You start this month and you're walking from LA to Boston. It's going to take how long?
So it's going to take about 105 days. So it's about 3.5 months. That's with walking over a marathon every single day. So it's a fair whack of miles in between me, LA and Boston.
Are you nervous about it? I mean, you did something similar at the Euros in Germany. You walked from where? Hampden in Glasgow all the way to Germany.
Yeah, that's right. So in 2024, I took on the challenge of walking from Glasgow, left the steps at Hampden and arrived in Marienplatz in Munich before their first game where we did lose 5-1. But we don't talk about that. We won't talk about that now. But yeah, I mean, I'm under no false illusion that just doing one of these challenges means that I'm going to be able to do however many more miles. That being said, does it scare me? A little bit, but it excites me more, and that's the more important part. And yeah, I really believe that I'll arrive in Boston one way or another.
You waking up in the morning, Craig, you've got to do... How many miles were you doing a day?
Yeah, so it's going to be roughly 30 miles a day, which is well over the marathon every single day, and that's roughly for 105 days. And you're right, look, it's easy sat here saying, I'm going to do this, but there's only so much planning that goes into it, your pencil and paper while you're back here. The true learning actually happens when you're on the challenge and your body's screaming at you going, no, come on, not another one of them. But that's where you really need to dig deep, think and remember why you're doing it and the important cause. And hopefully with the whole of Scotland behind me, it'll be impossible to stop walking.
The Americans will be behind you as well. I mean, they're going to see you in the kilt. Incidentally, are you going to be wearing anything under the kilt?
Well, if the Americans want to find that out, they'll need to put a big donation in towards the charity. But yeah, the kilt's a huge part of it, and I'll be wearing it every step of the way.
You're going to do this, and we're going to get behind you. We'll be out there. We're going the easy route, Craig. We're flying to New York. But I think everybody is going to get behind you, and that's what you want.
For sure, and that's it. That's why the World Cup's so important. It brings nations together, not only in a footballing sense, but everyone celebrating the same thing, and that's football. And I want this challenge to be one of those many stories that people from every nation all across the world can look at and say, that's something I can get behind. And not just because it's Scotland, because that's not what it's about. It's about mental health, and that's the main reason, and that's a cause that I think every nation can get behind.
Have you got a ticket for the Haiti game when you get there?
I don't yet. I was unsuccessful in the ballot, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Do you think it'll be a special World Cup for the Scots? I mean, we haven't qualified for one since 1998. We've got to get behind them.
Yeah, look, I think the fact that I do these walks and I'm willing to walk over 3,000 miles to get there shows that when it comes to Scotland, I'm a bit of a hopeless optimist. That being said, I feel like it's different. I feel like this is going to be the year that Scotland do it. We'll get out the group, and not only that, we're going to beat England on the way to the semi-final. Come on, Scotland!
Come on, Scotland. And Craig, you're going to raise $1 million, right?
Yeah, that's the aim. Raise £1 million for mental health. It's an ambitious target, but I really, really believe, if everyone listening gets behind, donates, and really buys into the cause, then yeah, I think we can do it.
Craig Ferguson, I'm sure, having met him, I'm sure, Craig, that you will do it. Simon, he's 22. When we were at the Euros in Germany, he did something similar, but not of a similar length. He walked from Hampden, as you probably heard, to Germany for the first game, and then watched Scotland get thumped, of course, by Germany in the opening game. And now this is a whole lot different. 3,000 miles.
Great challenge, isn't it?
Isn't it?
It's fascinating to walk across America. I mean, I'd walk 3,500 miles away to not watch Scotland. So he's walking to go and watch them. So, look, I think it's fantastic. Ultimately, raising money for a cause that so many people are affected by. Fair play to him. and he gets to walk across America and have an expedition and have an adventure in and of itself. So fascinating. Good luck to him.
His big mate is about 6'6". Matthew, he's going to walk with him.
In case of any problems.
In case there's any problems, in case he runs into any trouble wearing his kilt or what have you. But it's amazing, Danny. It works out at 30-odd miles a day. So it's a lot of ground to cover, 3,000 miles, LA to Boston. Is that, presumably, when you trained hard, it's all about mindset, isn't it? Keep them going.
Yeah, I would imagine because he's done it before, he knows what he has to put in training-wise. You can't just say, I'm going to do something and do that. You're going to have to put some hours in. It's amazing dedication for a great cause, and I find it fascinating sometimes, people's mindset, because I don't think I could do it.
You don't think you could do it?
No. That determination and will.
I wonder how many steps a day is that, do you think? 10,000, because the average person is supposed to do 10,000 steps a day, aren't they? And that's considered to be about, what, 8 miles? Is it about 8 miles for 10,000 steps? Something like that, isn't it? 7 miles. So he's got to do 50, 60,000 steps a day.
A day? Yeah, a day. It's an incredible effort. And
every day.
Round the golf's about 12,000.
During the chat, as you probably heard, he says to me, once I get there, I hope to get in and see Scotland play Haiti in the opener against Boston. And he missed out on the ballot for a ticket. So if anybody is deserving of a ticket to watch that game, it is you, Craig. And you told me why you're doing it in a bit more detail. And I salute you totally for the reasons you're doing it. So Simon and I will be out there. Dan will be out there as well. Danny, you're going to be out there as well. We're going the easy route. We're flying there. But once we get there, we'll probably follow Craig's route and his progress.
Maybe you could join him for part of it, Jim.
Maybe we could, but sadly we'll be in New York. But you never know. We'll probably try and get Craig, on Zoom or something like that as he approaches Boston.
If he got a beard like Forrest Gump.
He could do. Yeah. Craig, why not? Grow a beard like Forrest Gump. So follow Craig's marathon journey. You can do that now on Instagram or TikTok on Craig Ferguson _1. He's raising money for Sam H. That's the organisation. That's samh.org.uk. For more information, head to thetartantrek.co.uk. Craig, it was a pleasure meeting you. And we will meet again on the eve of Scotland's World Cup campaign in the US of A. A special young guy. Good luck to you.
In the two high-profile times when I've accused anyone of racism or sexism, a High Court has agreed with me. A parliamentary committee has agreed with me. So, and I've got reams of evidence.
Oh, absolutely.
Of people,
you're talking about Mark Sampson and Joey Barton.
Right, but the point is, I'm not the person.
That's the extreme end of the equation, isn't it?
Right, what is the point?
No, but
Go on,
my
Annie.
point is, that's also replicated online. So there's reams and reams of evidence of people online.
But you did it to me. You told me. No, I don't have a problem with it because it's your opinion. You said to me about me that I'm a sexist.
No,
I don't think I am. I think I have a strident opinion. I have a daughter.
I think you pander to an audience.
Yeah, and that in itself could be considered to be something that people would. I could be robust in my rejection of it. It's your opinion. You're entitled to it, and I like you should do. I only take the value of a people's opinion from someone whose opinion I respect.
Yeah.
Your opinion isn't relevant to me, and my opinion, to some extent, shouldn't be relevant to you. And if you are strong in the views that you have, I admire you for having the strength of them. But everything that you seem to portray in life seems to be that every disadvantage that you have is because either you're a woman or because you're black, and it's got nothing to do with your contribution to the equation. and the way that people perceive you.
I'll always take responsibility if I think I've done something wrong. I'm the first person to apologise if I think, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or that went the wrong way. You can find multiple examples of me apologising, but there is a reality that I do suffer sometimes a disadvantage because people abuse me for my identity. They don't actually focus on, I don't think she's a good person or good pundit because of X, Y, Z. They go into attacking your identity. Those are two different things.
It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. Thanks to all the reaction. A big reaction here to our friend Craig Ferguson, who's going to walk those 3,000 miles from LA to Boston. The SAMH, the organisation, the Scottish Action for Mental Health. I hope you're thrilled with the way Craig spoke to me. And we're delighted to broadcast that on the show. And I'm going to keep in touch with Craig once we are out there and help the young lad over the line in any which way that we can. Special boy, Simon, by the sounds of it, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well done to you, Craig. Still loads of reaction coming in to yesterday's show here between 10 and 1 when Eni Aluko was a guest in studio with Simon and myself. And the reaction has been far and wide, and it's varied, as you might imagine. Very interesting reaction to it in the coverage by the Mail, the newspaper. As our show returned from an ad break, Simon, and it's fair to say Simon had launched a tough old attack during what was a fiery show. This is how they described it in the Mail. Simon launched or Jordan brackets, whatever your age is, who'd launched a blistering attack during what was a fiery show, could be seen angrily gesticulating towards Aluko, who appeared to pull a face before turning a head away from the former Crystal Palace chairman. Expert lip reader Jeremy Freeman told Daily Mail Sport what Jordan had said to Aluko.
Did he?
Jordan says, according to the lip reader, but nobody cares. Drop this. It's definitely you. I know it. I know. And it's not clear what Aluko said in response. I was sitting right beside you, and I don't remember you saying that.
First of all, I didn't launch a blistering attack upon Eni. You asked me to repeat what I'd said about her on the previous show. So I did.
Right.
Which I think has a bit of integrity. Now, and I also qualified myself in that situation by saying a lot of people might think the same about me. What I said to Eni in the break was, you were foolish to have a go at Ian Wright. For whatever reason, he's a national treasure. You're silly to have done that. You shouldn't have done it. You should have left it alone. That's your own fault.
Yeah.
You brought this upon yourself. And we were having a fluid exchange, and it wasn't hostile, it wasn't aggressive.
As we came back
so
on
that lip reader is in the same sort of territory of George Bush, read my lips, there'll be no more taxes. He's clueless. He's making it up as he goes along. That's not what was said, and it's a fishing expedition. And I expect better from the Daily Fail.
Thank you very much indeed. And I was saying that. Thank you very much indeed, Simon. You see my lips moving. Danny, Jean-Philippe Mateta, I want to finish on this. Oliver Glasner has now confirmed that Jean-Philippe Mateta, who at one stage in the recent transfer window looked as if he'd go to Juventus, he might have gone to Milan, he went to neither, he stays with Crystal Palace. The Palace striker, according to Glasner, will now not undergo surgery on a knee injury. He's been managing the issue since November, apparently, and avoiding surgery means Mateta still keeps his hopes alive of making the French World Cup squad this summer. But despite being the subject of angst and critical songs from the Palace support in recent matches, when it looked like Mateta was going to leave the club and leave the supporters of Palace, Glasner has called on all the fans, get behind him now that he's staying.
No, I hope that the fans act how I got them known. You're always supporting every single player and always supporting the team, because I think this is what everybody can expect. Nobody can expect that every single player, every single staff member, every manager will stay forever. Yeah? But what they can expect is that everybody gives his best when he wears the eagle. Yeah? And I think and I'm 100% convinced that JP will give his best when he wears the Eagle shirt again. And I think then he deserves the best support. And I'm pretty sure our fans will support him in the best way. And they are appreciating what he has done for Crystal Palace. And then that maybe a common way ends, that's the same part of our life, but as long as a player is here, as long as a manager is here, as long as a staff member is here, then everybody can expect being 100% committed to Crystal Palace, and this is what JP will show, and then he deserves the full support from everyone.
So now it's over to the Palace fans to get behind Mateta, Danny. Do you think those fans, some of them, will let bygones be bygones and welcome him back into the fold?
Yeah, I think some will, and I think more will if he comes off the bench one week and gets the winner, or scores the winner in a semi-final of the Conference League and gets another trophy for the club. He's a threat. He's a handful, and when he's on form, he's a really good player. So having him as a backup, although they've signed Strand Larsen, gives them an option of playing two late in the game. If Strand Larsen gets an injury, then they've got somebody who's proven to score goals, Premier League level. It's all about how he conducts himself. I don't think he's going to do anything other than give his best when he's trying to break into a World Cup squad.
Yeah, exactly.
And also keep himself in the window.
Well, that's a good point that Danny's made, Simon. We're not suggesting he's going to prioritise getting in the French squad, but Palace might well be the beneficiaries here. And that Mateta, in a bid to get into the French squad for the US of A, will really work hard at turning it on for his club.
That's good of him. It's his job.
I knew that was coming.
You know, what are we supposed to say here? I mean, the Palace fans...
But we know he's not committed to them, Simon.
Yeah, and that's fine. And people, you want rational thinking from emotional football fans. Why would you be sitting in a stadium giving up all your hard-earned cash, travelling across the country to watch a bunch of guys kick a bag of wind around that half the time couldn't care less? Because you're emotionally invested and it's not rational thinking. So now you want to wag your finger. The same manager that wants to leave, wants to wag his finger and tell the fans how to behave. Get on the pitch, play well, apply yourself, and people will forget the fact you're leaving. Don't tell people how to react to situations. Make them react properly by putting in performances and putting in an outcome. You're the one that said you wanted to leave. You're the one that's, for whatever reason, thinks the pastures are better for you and new. So you have to accept that with that goes an element of resistance from it. Otherwise, do you want rationalised thinking from football fans? Is that what you want? Because if you got that, then no one would spend the kind of money that they do to pay for subscriptions for broadcasters, to have the investment into the opportunities that you guys get as a benefit of it.
We wouldn't have a show.
So take the rough with the smooth. Just produce winning outcomes. I mean, just produce winning outcomes. He's entitled to leave, and I don't think Crystal Palace fans are particularly unforgiving. They'll have their moment of rancour about somebody when they think that somebody hasn't done something particularly well. I remember when Steve Bruce used to come back, or Terry Venables used to come back, God rest his soul, to Selhurst Park, and the fans felt that they'd done wrong by the club, which Brucey particularly had.
Yeah.
And they got a lot of vitriol, but people get on with it. It's the nature of the beast. Don't whine. Just go out and put a good performance on, for Christ's sakes.
Exactly. It's all about managing minutes, Danny, isn't it? Maybe for the betterment of France, but certainly for the betterment of Palace.
Yeah, I mean, players will always do what's best for them first. And the best thing for him is to play well. That's it.
Good for Palace too. For players, well, they can sell him for more money in the summer.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was watching your lips moving there.
Indeed.
Because I'm sitting beside you, looking at you. Danny, thank you very much indeed. Now, you hightail it up to the northwest, and it's match of the day duty for you tonight.
Busy one, yeah. Loads of games. We'll deal with last night's games as well. It's condensed show. It's just about a lot of action and incidents. You won't get too much of me talking on camera, which is a benefit,
good.
Yeah.
I mean, really? Okay, Danny. Danny, good luck with that. Simon, terrific stuff. I will see you tomorrow at 10, and we'll be back for Thursday's edition of White and Jordan. I very rarely say that, and I don't know why I did. It's 1 o'clock.
Mo, what happened yesterday?
Candy.
What happened yesterday?
Candy, listen.
What happened?
Candy. Listen.
Mo, what happened?
Listen. We still gonna go. We still can do the double, Candy. The cups.
What happened yesterday though? What happened yesterday?
To win.
Mo, what happened yesterday?
Yes, what is on? Listen. Yesterday's game, like I said, I don't want to talk about it, Candy.
No, why don't you want to talk about it? No, that's what we're talking about.
What is on? Listen, we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about tomorrow's match.
No. Here's what we're talking about. What happened yesterday?
Candy.
Yep.
Candy.
Yep.
Come on, Candy.
Listen, what happened yesterday?
Candy, listen.
Yeah, what happened yesterday, man?
I've said this all the time to you, every single time. I keep repeating myself. Liverpool have been done by VAR so many times, it's unreal.
You lost 2-1.
The referee was shocking, Candy.
You lost 2-1.
And do you know what, Candy? Yesterday, it wasn't a surprise to me. It wasn't a surprise. I mean, our team turned up in the second half. We were just absolutely superb. The boys were absolutely superb.
You conceded 2 goals.
Candy, what are you on about now? Candy.
Mo, you conceded 2.
Listen, Jimmy G, you can't say anything, yeah? You cannot talk. You got